Yes! Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. We have a tremendous stream planned this evening. We've got arrests beginning, according to the DOJ. The first one occurring out in California of a Honduran national illegally registering to vote in our elections. And it is quite shocking how easy it is to do this out there in California. We'll break it down. But they say this is the first of many more to come. We'll take a look at their press release and then see what else is going on with this election order, because we know that the Obama judge, Indira Talwani, came out swinging, saying she was going to block all of this instantly, and she did that. But the DOJ and the states have already appealed. This thing is moving fast. We've got all the latest updates here, of course. We also have the RNC now stepping into the game against New Jersey and all the illegal aliens on their lists. They don't want to talk about it. None of the blue states want to let anybody actually take a look at what's going on inside. And so now we are on the precipice of some additional lawsuits from the Republican National Committee. We also have Jena Griswold made another boo-boo. We know last time during one of the prior elections, she accidentally put the passwords for the voting machines, the BIOS system, on the internet, and now she done goofed again. So we're going to get into all of it and more, and we've got an update from Homeland about the compromises inside of our election machines. Then we got Tish James back in the news. We've got 15 sheriffs joining in a complaint to sue her, saying that both she and the governor, Kathy Hochul, are violating their rights as sheriffs. They were put in office and elected to do a job, and now this prohibition on interfacing with ICE is illegal, and now they should pay consequences for that. It is a big filing. We'll hit the highlights and see exactly what's going on there and take a look at some other interesting DHS developments that are quite shocking. Then we've got a flock update because, by goodness, we have a police officer who now has been arrested and charged with crimes in Kentucky for evidently using the system over 2,000 times to track one of his exes. And now Congress is looking into this. We've got Governor Ron DeSantis who's mad about it. Letters flying out to the CEO saying, what the heck is going on with your surveillance system? And so it's going to be a great stream. We're glad that you're here and joining us. We hope that your week was outstanding. Thank you for subscribing, liking the video, sharing the show with a friend or family member, and all the things. And now, provided the tubes are working, we're going to go ahead and get started. And it looks like they are Eureka. So let's get right to it, because we got a lot to get to here today. Here we go. Election fraud arrests begin. We were waiting for the start of this onslaught to happen. And now, according to the California U.S. attorney called Bill Asaley, it's underway. He made a post today about an arrest and a federal set of charges coming against one guy, a Honduran national seen down here in this arrest photo, courtesy of law enforcement, who has been picked up. And in their press release, he says, this is the first of many to come. And so we're excited to see some energy on these new charges, because this is something that is happening not only in California, but across the nation, as we'll get to. Also, updates on the DOJ and the red states appealing Judge Indira Talwani's order, all in a moment. But the rest of this post and announcement says the guy's name is Darwin Jonathan Rivera Flores. And this one's wild because this guy had a bad attitude. He was actually talking smack against the feds, and they said, who are you? What are you doing? They looked into him, and now he's in big trouble. He came out of California. He's charged with 2 felonies, and he faces deportation if he is convicted. What counts? One is unlawfully registering to vote in California, and it's so easy to do it. I'm going to show you how shocking it actually is, and also falsely claiming to be a U.S. citizen. Now, because states like California allow non-citizens to easily register to vote and receive a ballot by mail, there's no telling how many non-citizens are in fact currently registered. Writing, it's time for California to actually comply with Harmeet Dillon's request. She's been demanding that we can just take a look at their list pursuant to federal law. And they've all been digging their heels in, preventing that from happening, saying this is necessary to protect the integrity of our elections. All true. Of course, the disclaimer, All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in court, but wait till you hear this one. So this is the guy right here. His name is Darwin Flores, and he is seen here picked up by the police, now being taken into custody. He can go back to Honduras and vote in their elections. Here's more from the scene. Wow, that is a little fella. Your boy is, not too vertically gifted here, but that guy is a little fella. Thought he was like 8 years old or something. But all right, so he was talking smack. We're going to come back to this because he was actually texting the feds, talking garbage on them. And they said, well, we don't really take too kindly to that. So we'll come back to that in a moment. But I wanted to show you just actually how easy it was, in fact, to go vote. So this came out from Matt Finn. He's over at Fox News, and he said, look, see it for yourself if you don't believe me. So easy to vote, it's ridiculous. If you go online and register to vote online in California today, you can basically do it. All you got to do is check the box that says, I don't have any ID. I don't have any social security number at all. You can see he took screenshots of it, so you can go right over there, covr.sos.ca.gov, and just fill it out. Do you have any ID to validate that you're an actual citizen? Do you have anything you can provide us to check? No. I do not have a California driver's license or ID card. Check it. Oh, we don't care. I mean, we're not going to check anyway, so whatever. Also, do you have a social security number? Can you give us the last 4 digits of it? No, I don't have a social security number. They say perfect because we didn't want to check anyways. You're going to save us some time. All you got to do is fill out the form. And as we know, he shares with us another section of California law, which says, if you want to come vote, and we don't have this on file, what can you bring in order to validate yourself? A health club identification card. In California law. So there's basically no validation at all. They won't validate you on the inbound form submission, and they won't validate you even if you show up. It's just got to be like a name and a photo or something on a health club ID card, whatever that is. Many of those don't even have a photo. It's just a little badge that you get. So the whole thing is just a total scam, obviously. And they say, according to Matt Finn from Fox, the California Secretary of State estimates that 98% of registered voters do provide ID in the last 4 digits of their socials, but the Trump administration is now suing to turn over their voter rolls. And you don't need but 98%. If you have a 2% problem here, that's a big problem. Many elections are decided by a small percentage of votes. And so even if you buy their numbers, Shirley Weber and the California Secretary of State, there's still 2% that are not providing really anything. So this guy got picked up and he registered to vote. And the story's pretty wild. 2 felonies, living in San Fernando Valley, was arrested today, showing up in court this evening. Dockets have not hit the court Pacer website yet, but his name is Darwin, and he wins a Darwin Award for being so stupid on this. And what's so beautiful about this announcement is that Bill Asaley says, today's arrest is the first of many to come. Whew, that feels good. And we hope it's true, because this is a big problem, and now they're onto it. So he says, unfortunately, because states like California allow non-citizens to easily register to vote, as we just saw, there's no telling how many other non-citizens are currently on there. And think about like 2% every year, 2% a year, 2% a year, 2% a year. In between the 4-year presidential terms, that's another 8%. And then another 8%. And then another 8%. It's been going on for multiple decades now. So according to an affidavit, this guy who just got picked up, he was born in Honduras. All of this being submitted as the charging document, came into the United States in 2002 and is here as a lawful permanent resident on a green card. Wow, isn't that something? So here's what happened. Now, in February 2026, this guy becomes an activist. He physically disrupted immigration law enforcement operations at a federal building in Camarillo. He was issued a misdemeanor citation, and so he went and pleaded guilty to that, got 1 year of probation. So now he's like joining the insurgency, joining the illegal alien invaders and the ACLU lawyers and saying, now I'm going to help fight back against fascism or whatever. So then in April, listen to this. Rivera, this non-citizen, he sent a federal agent a series of text messages. This is the Darwin Award, which read in part to the feds. He said, you're not the good guy. And it's your as in Y-O-U-R. You're not the good guy. Not like you are not the good guy, because his English is terrible. Now, I can't wait until the midterms, he says. Until you don't have qualified immunity, then we can start and indict all you guys one by one. Okay, that's what he texts the feds. Not smart. He continued texting the federal agent until July 2026, and they said, oh, who is this person? Let's look into him. So then law enforcement investigated him and discovered an online voter registration record, in the name of Darwin Rivera, associated with his address. They also got a certified voter registration application number and a voter registration receipt and a signature image from the California Secretary of State. Oh, busted. So the name was listed on the registration form as Darwin J. Rivera and listed his address in Winnetka. And under the application question said, quote, did someone help you fill out this form? The answer was no. He said, I did it. And a check mark was provided next to the application that said, I am a U.S. citizen. But in fact, he's not. Now, following a declaration under penalty of perjury and a warning, the voter registration application deadline was dated November 4, 2025. Additional records from the California Secretary of State also said that the birthplace listed under his name when he was registering was the United States of America. It's not, it's Honduras. So there's no record of him ever obtaining or seeking even U.S. citizenship. He hasn't actually voted, but we don't care. Don't even get on the list. And so, of course, they say this is just a criminal complaint. He is presumed innocent and more, but the guy wasn't too bright. And today is the first of many to come. Explaining from Harmeet, saying non-citizens who commit fraud so they can vote do so in violation of federal law. They should expect to be prosecuted. And every non-citizen voting, and there are now hundreds and allegedly thousands who are actually doing it, let this criminal complaint serve as a reminder that the DOJ stands ready to enforce these laws, and we will do that. So he was apparently going to be making his first appearance in court today. Here is another roundup of the arrest, courtesy of the California Post that was also there. And here's this little fella being taken in, not so full of energy and bravado as he was on the cell phone, was he?
No. Yes, a couple people, please.
Weird how the attitude changes, isn't it?
People, I'm a caregiver. Can I just help them?
Oh, yeah, you're a caregiver now.
Huh?
Not so tough anymore. Yeah.
Really, dude?
Yes, really.
What the did I do, bro? Broke the law. What did I do? What did I do?
Illegally registered to vote.
What I did? We'll get to that. Can I at least call my? Can I call certain people? No, dude. No, this is bullshit, dude. This is a bullshit, dude. I didn't do nothing, dude. You guys wouldn't even tell me what I did.
Okay, we're gonna explain everything to you. We'll try to arrest one for you, okay?
Sorry.
This individual went out of his way. He went online and he registered to vote, and California allowed him to be an active registered voter here, knowing full well that he's not a citizen. So he was arrested this morning. He's been charged with 2 felonies, and now, upon conviction, he's also facing deportation.
Bye. So all of a sudden now he is a little bit concerned. I have no idea what I was doing. And the truth is he signed a document under penalty of perjury, allegedly, and now he's getting prosecuted accordingly. One more from Bill. He said California allowed this guy to register to vote. Now he's charged with multiple felonies, and California has no mechanism to even check, as we just saw. All you got to do is go on the website, sign up, you're good. So AG Bonta in California is working overtime to keep these non-citizens on the voter rolls and to prevent a federal audit. And so thank you, Homeland LA. Shout out to all of them for their outstanding work on this investigation, and more arrests to come. Love to hear it. So that's a good one. And maybe they'll get him a booster seat for his court appearance. But as it stands, he's in federal custody right now and presumably showed up in court this afternoon. Now, as you can see, this is another person who is doing the thing they say there's no evidence of existing at all. And so you're going to see that regurgitated by one of the biggest activist judges in America at the current moment. This is her 15 minutes of Democrat fame. Her name is Indira Talwani, and she issued a TRO blocking Trump's executive order. This case we've been following for quite some time. This was absolutely expected. The speed with which it was delivered was a little shocking, but she's on a mission. She doesn't want the executive order to have any actual implementation at all. And the longer she allows it to continue on, the more states submit their lists, the more processing of the new envelopes occurs. So she needed to block it immediately. And she did that. And it's exactly what we expected. The order came down. And I just want to show you once again her argument that there is no evidence of any of this going on. And as we go through this quickly, we'll see there's a ton of evidence that this is going on. In fact, we have another post here from the RNC that's going after New Jersey, where there are non-citizens on the list, many of whom actually voted and are committing election fraud. And so the judge, apparently Indira, doesn't understand the consequences of her statement that this is not happening. She can't even identify other stories that we've covered here. Every day there's a new story about somebody committing election fraud. This guy just got picked up in California, but that's not good enough for Indira. So she dropped this, and let's not be troubled about it, because as soon as this dropped, boom, the notice of appeal got delivered courtesy of the DOJ and all of the red states. And so we'll come back to both of those. But here's what Indira had to say. And she said, you know, here, as we know, a lot of background. We've been covering this case for weeks, so we know it's about the mail-in new rules that would require an envelope notification, a barcode, like a seal, a logo on the outside of the packet. And then the states would also submit their citizenship list or their voter registration list to the Postal Service, and they would cross-reference those against the federal government's list. So they say from Indira, the Obama judge, that now we have a new action. She got slapped down earlier this week from the Supreme Court saying there's no standing for any of these lawsuits to be brought. And now it is in effect. And it was in effect. It was absolutely happening. And I even think North Carolina had already sent in their list. They're like, here you go. Here's our list, because they want this to get done. So her explanation for this is really the same thing that got slapped down before from the Supreme Court. She gets into it in this section, subsection A. She says, the plaintiff states bring a variety of claims, that it's all unconstitutional and more. And the Trump administration says, we have broad power to actually do this. We can create rules because Congress delegated us that authority to do that. And what's happening now is we're not usurping any state power to govern their elections. They still get to decide who actually votes. We're just picking up the ballots and making sure they match our list so that we're not facilitating fraud. So she explains in the main section here that now that there is a final rule, this is going to be an injury. And once again, saying that now the plaintiffs will have standing. And it's such a scam of a justification for this. She says that these plaintiffs, and in this case, this was the League of Women Voters, let's not forget. So the League of Women Voters, the nonprofit that has to educate their women, and the various states like California. In this case, the harm is going to be that they're going to be very confused because they're so dumb. Saying that this is going to have an actual problem for them. And so now that this has been implemented, they actually have standing because there will be disenfranchisement. They'll say certain people won't vote. And it's also going to force them to rush through this to make sure that the Postal Service can actually timely approve their various jurisdictions. And then the irreparable harm is what we just articulated. If they can't comply, if the states can't get their lists in, they won't get their ballots picked up. And this is going to be devastating for these people. Now, the organizations, they're going to face the irreparable harm because they rely on mail-in voting. And so all of this is going to be very difficult for them. And so I have to balance out the harms. And she says that there has not been any evidence, right? The record in this case continues to lack any evidence about fraudulent or absentee mail-in balloting, saying there really is no evidence of any voter fraud at all. We talk about it every stinking day. She should watch the show. In any event, she writes, the Postal Service interest in correcting an unsubstantiated problem. They're like, fingers in their ears, la, 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 it's not happening, means that there's an overwhelming risk of pervasive disenfranchisement, which outweighs an unsubstantiated problem. They're arresting people literally today, the same day that she releases this order. And once again, the section on the harm to the plaintiffs in the states, it's pretty thin. And it's going to be that there's confusion and chaos and they're not going to know what to do. And the plaintiffs are all of these groups. Okay, these are the people who are taking over the elections. League of Women Voters, the Asian Pacific Advocates, Delta Sigma Theta, many others, the defendants, of course, the federal government and the American people. So long story short, she blocked it. So as soon as the Supreme Court came back down, the leftists filed a new complaint, an amended complaint, and then they filed a new request for a TRO. She definitely wasted no time in this and granted the block, saying that the court grants a 14-day stay. We're going to have further litigation on this. We know that they're doing everything over the weekend. They're even showing up tomorrow. The DOJ is to continue to fight this. Thank you for doing it. And says all of this is now blocked. Nobody can use the portal. Nobody can follow any of these rules. And so it's now done, courtesy of Indira Talwani. And they were celebrating back on the left, like this is their judge, this is their entire strategy. So the DOJ and the red states wasted no time. They said, we're not playing the stupid game here, Obama Judge Indiri. So here they submitted a notice of appeal, boom, right after her order dropped. They were expecting it, saying, now Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, and many others, including Texas and South Carolina, all submit a notice of appeal. We're going up to the First Circuit, and we'll race this thing back up to the Supreme Court if we have to. And man, they need a proofreader on the state's team. So what we have is the red AGs versus the blue AGs, and the red states get no benefit of the doubt. There's no even real consideration of what their concerns are in her TRO, as we just flew through. And then the DOJ also sent theirs in, saying, please take notice that we at the Postal Service and everywhere else are also taking this up. Mark Wayne Mullen, Homeland Security, Immigration, Naturalization Services, and more, so that we can appeal this and get this rectified quickly. So we're going to keep our eye on that case, obviously, of course, but this is a problem and she just cannot reconcile it, doesn't want to hear it, pretending like she's in La La Land and it's not even a real thing. But as we know, even in the blue state of New Jersey, they've admitted it. And now the RNC is now saying we may actually file a lawsuit on this. We've made some very basic record requests to get to the bottom of your 6,600 non-citizens that you, by a glitch and software error, added to your rolls, and you're not responding to us. So a lawsuit is coming next. And so they're trying to delay this out. They've got until September 15th, a couple weeks from now, in order to respond. But the RNC made the announcement today that they sent formal National Voter Registration Act violation notices earlier this week to the Secretary of State out in New Jersey. They want records about non-citizen removals and other verification efforts after we learned about the big scandal. Now, officials have until September 15th to produce the records, or the RNC is going to sue. Joe Gruters, who is the chairman over there, he said what we all saw. She came out, had a press conference about it in her limited hangout. Democrat Governor Mikey Sherrill admitted what the RNC already uncovered through public records requests. Non-citizens are on their voter rolls. Now, the election officials are refusing to turn over the records to explain how it happened. And voters deserve answers, and the RNC is putting them on notice. Comply with the law, hand over the records, or face legal action. Now, they say that they have identified, according to Bergen County records, that 134 non-citizens were removed from the New Jersey voter rolls between January 23 and August 26. And of those, 91 registrations were also linked to the Motor Vehicle Commission. One county, 134 people. And that is according, I would presume, to a FOIA request, okay, like a records request. And so that is what the state is removing. They're saying, oh, you know, we've just gotten rid of a couple of these people. But as we saw by a prior Judicial Watch lawsuit in California, they did a bunch of record requests and they were analyzing basically the total numbers and the modified removal numbers. And they were looking at various counties in California and they were saying, this is curious. Some counties are removing like 2 to 3% of their people every year because people die. People get charged with felonies. People move out of state. There's a natural churn of a population in a specific area. But here in other counties in LA and elsewhere, there is basically zero churn, which is insane. It's just like mathematically impossible. You can't have the same voter list year after year, or it grows by a certain number and there's no actual removals. So what they're doing in some instances is removing the most obvious people who shouldn't be on the list in the first place, and then saying, we're actually maintaining our lists. We're doing our maintenance, so stop crying about it, right-wing conspiracy theorists. So Cheryl and her administration has separately disclosed that, oops, a software error at the MVC also registered 6,600 people to vote very conveniently in one small 12-month increment from 2023 to 2024 before she took office. She had nothing to do with it. And another 5,100 people affected by the error were removed from the rolls because they had no separate registration or attestation. Then there was another 1,450 registrations that were changed to rejected status pending further review by county election officials. So weird, because Indira Talwani, the Obama judge, she just wrote in a federal filing that this isn't happening. There's no evidence of this. It's completely unsubstantiated. And so she issues a block across the entire nation. She is a Massachusetts district court judge. She is blocking it for the entire country. And why? Because that's her role to play for the left. It's obviously happening. Democrat governors are admitting it. Democrat attorney generals are prosecuting them, even in Michigan. So the state said that 340 people newly registered because of the error is not their fault. IDEMIA, the company who was doing the registration, said it's not their fault. So no one knows how it happened. Now, it also identified another 220 people affected by the error who actually voted, but did have previous registrations or separate attestations indicating that they may have been validly registered. How could that be? How could you be validly registered if you're not a citizen? Seems like there might be some malicious intent from the people operating the systems inside of the system. So Mikey Sherrill said that county officials had been directed to resolve the remaining cases before the November election. She also accused Trump of seeking greater federal control over the state voter rolls. They already have that control. It's already in HAVA and the NVRA and the Civil Rights Act. We've already articulated that many times. Now, to be clear, no judge, as far as I'm aware, has found that they do, although there was a pretty banging dissent that was out of Michigan in the Court of Appeals that I think is going to carry water once it hits the Supreme Court. And so all of those judges are going to get reversed, but we'll have to wait for that. Now, the governor's office said the investigation is ongoing, and New Jersey and the Secretary of State's office didn't respond to any requests here to the actual Fox News reporter who is covering this one. Now, once again, it is continuing to happen. And we saw in Michigan that there are town clerks who heroically came out earlier this week and made videos identifying themselves by name in front of their town halls, saying that what Jocelyn Benson was doing out there was saying, we're not going to check status because the county and the town clerks will do that. We don't need to do it because the check and balance is passed off to someone else. All of them want to point the finger at someone else. We know Harmeet Dillon and the DOJ has said, if you're in the election system and you help facilitate a crime by helping other people vote illegally, you're responsible for that. You are responsible for this baby, and if something bad happens to the baby, that's on you. You can't just pass off the buck to somebody else and say, it's not my job. It is actually your job. So what they've done is, instead of wanting to take the blame themselves, they passed it on to the town clerks. Now the town clerks are freaked out. They're like, I'm not going to jail for this lady. So now they're suing, saying Jocelyn is ordering us to delete records. Jocelyn is saying we're going to validate these people. We can't validate these people. We don't have the system to do it. When they send us data about who the voters are, it doesn't include citizenship data. So we couldn't validate them even if we wanted to, because Jocelyn is stripping out the information that we need. Now it's happening again in another state. So this came over from this account and this person called Right Side Rebel, an independent journalist and activist, since, you know, CNN would never send somebody to do this, Army combat engineer veteran, Christian conservative, and more. And she went down and talked to this guy here in Oregon. And I want to play this for you after we read what she discovered. She says that there was another county clerk who is emerging from Oregon saying the Secretary of State out there made him register dead voters, not just non-citizens, the dead people. One of them voted in 2022, 14 years after dying. You're kidding. And I've explained here many times over the anecdote that I would get a dead guy's ballot to my house in Arizona. Show up right to my house. Like, he's dead. I know he's dead because we bought the house from his estate. So he's not around anymore. But I kept getting it. We know they don't check signatures. There's no actual number validation. I don't have to put the last four of his social on the ballot. I don't have to put a voter code or anything on there. All I could have done is opened up his ballot along with mine, filled it out, signed his name, whatever. They don't check. They don't care. They're definitely not going to disqualify a vote. So there's an active live ballot that's out there. I didn't do that because I'm not a Democrat, but I could have. Now, working again with Samantha Frost and Richard McNamara on Douglas County voter rolls, County Clerk is named Dan Loomis. He registered 397 inactive voters. She has confirmed 40 of them are dead. More than 100 are over 100 years old. This is why they don't want the list to be checked. So she says, I showed him for a second time the record of the dead voter we've documented so far. Died in 2008, voted in 2022. How did that happen? Saying he tried to use the excuse that I had information and he didn't, and he has been confronted about this before. It's 2026 and it still has not been fixed. So when pressed, Loomis showed no urgency that the rolls are not clean and that a dead person voted. He said, it's just one person, who cares? It's not all of them. One person is too many, and it's not just one person. Okay, that's just a little cope to make them feel better. Oh, it's not a big deal. And they always move the goalpost. First of all, it's not happening. There is no voter fraud at all. Okay, now it is happening, but it's not widespread. Okay, it is widespread. It's everywhere. We see it all over the country, but it's not widespread enough to change the outcome of an election. Well, did you look at everything? No. You say it's not widespread. Can we look at things? Can we look at your list? No. Well, we're entitled to. Can you enter into a settlement agreement with us? No. You sue to get them, they sue you back because they don't want you to see it. So she writes, this is not a rumor. These are documents from the Secretary of State's own system showing the rolls contain illegal and fraudulent voting right inside. Loomis also claims that counties and cities are not authorized to investigate, that the only office authorized is the Oregon Secretary of State, and they never investigate themselves. So for anyone doing the same work in Oregon, she explains, you are on firm ground. Oregon Constitution and others say that you have the right to go and talk to your representatives. Shout out to her. Saying Harmeet Dillon also sent a letter to everybody. We talked about it here. This is why they're all nervous about this. We're getting the limited hangouts one after another. Oh, we checked. It's not our responsibility. We did what we thought we could do. And it's a glitch. So don't indict us. In this interview, Loomis, the person she's talking to, admits that we have found only one confirmed dead voter so far in the county and then shifts the blame over to her, right? Not my fault. Everybody's pointing their finger at someone else. So the question is simple. Is Harmeet going to come in and look at Oregon? Are these rolls finally going to get cleaned? Are we going to hold people accountable? Now, Oregonians, call your Secretary of State. Tobias Reed and your county clerk demand that the dead people are removed from the ballots and make sure that they're following the law, and they should be having their hand forced to fix these problems right now. So once again, this comes from Right Side Rebel on X at Right Side R3BEL. And let me go ahead and repost this at the top of our timeline so you can give her a follow and share this far and wide. Here's her interview with County Clerk Dan Loomis about these issues that we just discussed.
We have proof that someone is stealing identities and voting for people. The reason why I'm asking you is because it all comes back to being registered by you. And so I'm really wondering, like, why is this happening? How were 397 people registered on one day? You know, there's a lot of stuff that just isn't, there's just a lot of stuff that isn't adding up on here. You know, I have shown you this dead person. So now that I've shown you this, what are your plans on fixing this? Because, I mean, we just started digging and we already found one person.
I would be able to look and find whether I can find documentation to prove that that person is deceased.
Well, I have documentation right here. So this is all documents from the Secretary of the State. The date of death was in 2008. And I have this right here of the information. See, she was deceased in 2008.
Oh.
She died, so it's been 16 years. And then on this page right here, you could see that her votes were not cast. And then all of a sudden in 2022, it was. But this is after you registered all these people, you know?
We're talking about one person, not all of these people.
Yeah, but I mean, we just started digging, so are we going to find that? I mean, we've already found over 100 registered voters that have been registered that are deceased. You know,
So-
we found their grave sites.
Have you reported that to me before?
No, but we have had people come to you about this before.
So all of the ones that people have brought to me, I've investigated. No, not investigated. I've checked, because the county and the cities are not authorized to investigate
Got it.
complaints. Only the Secretary of State's office is where complaints can be filed. But you're welcome to present evidence to me, and I will look into a person's voter registration and make sure that they're still eligible.
But, you know, we have had people come talk to you about multiple things before, which, you know...
Now you say we, with your organization?
No, I just have a group of friends that care about our community, and we want things to be right. I truly hope you, as the county clerk, fixes this, because this is a huge deal. I mean, I've shown you proof of one deceased person that has voted.
It's still in your hand, though. You haven't given it to me.
Yes, yeah. I'm going to give it to you. Well, thank you. Thank you for the interview, and I really appreciate it, and I hope that I see changes around here.
She's got the documents, and he's going to blame it on somebody else. I really can't do the investigation, but send the docs to me, and I'll look into it. Problem is, it should be looked into by them already. We should not be having to have amazing independent journalists like this woman going out there and bringing it to their attention. Okay, part of the process internally should be to sample and validate and maintain your lists. People die. Like, why is there not a mechanism to just double check, run through every list, cross-reference the death records with the voter list every year? If you're dead, you come off the list. If you move, you come off the list. If you're charged with a felony, you come off the list. Deemed incapacitated, okay, come off the list. All these things. But they don't do it because they don't want to do it, because they'd rather, like I talked about in my anecdote, have ballots continue to be shipped to people's homes so that they can open them and vote them, and their votes will actually count. Somebody voted from this dude. You saw his birthday was in 1924, and the vote happened recently after he was long dead. So what we see here is a big, big problem, and it goes much deeper than just internal, according to New Jersey, glitches or oversight or errors or, oops, I have no responsibility here. I can't actually look into these things. I would like to look into it, so give me the files. Oh, but can you look? No, I can't actually, so give it to them. And the problem continues on, and then blue judges and who are activists say, you can't do any reform. The president gets elected on the back of election fraud claims from his voters and the American people who say we want this fixed. She says, no, it's not happening. Turns out it is. But it is much deeper. And there was another letter that was sent from Homeland Security to the White House Fraud Task Force. And this one's very curious. We saw the president in the White House released a bunch of documents about how foreign nations may have already gotten the voter registration list from all of the states or a large portion of them. We've also talked about here before how in Chicago, through the international airport, they were bringing in tens of thousands of fake IDs. Many of those IDs were for the state of Michigan, and the state of Michigan IDs had barcodes that worked, almost like they had the internal system dialed in, plus information about citizens, match them so they could make real IDs and then ship them to people who could just then go cast votes in their names. Giant problem. That was confirmed by Border Patrol, I believe, in July 2020 before the 2020 election was stolen. But now we see Mark Wayne Mullen sent this one out over to the White House from the Secretary of Homeland Security, and he explains the following. He says, "Hi, White House. We are in receipt of your latest request for documents. Now, we are actively identifying these responsive records and reviewing the potential for declassification, and we're going to continue to do this on a rolling basis. Now, our initial disclosure to you included some documents that the White House has determined cannot be released at this time. Don't know why. This letter was prepared to fulfill the task force request, for an unclassified overview of relevant election infrastructure supply chain vulnerabilities. So stuff is happening. Now, recently declassified records, including a 2024 OD&I annual threat assessment, concluded that, quote, China remains the most active and persistent cyber threat to the U.S. government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks. And Elon and X just said they nuked a 200,000 bot account or bot operation that was on X every day talking about data centers, data centers, data centers. They're so bad. They're so bad. All from foreign operations, 200,000 accounts deleted. Beijing's cyber espionage pursuits and its industry's export of surveillance info and communications technologies, writes Mark Wayne, increase the threat of aggressive cyber operations against the U.S. and the suppression of free flow of information. And there's more. A National Intelligence Council memo from October 24 stated, quote, we assess that some U.S. adversaries, at minimum, China, Iran, and Russia, have the technical capability to access some U.S. election-related networks and systems. And what the hell does that mean? Access? What do you mean? Access. So the declassification of these and other documents supports the need for strong mitigation strategies, particularly considering the known weaknesses in election infrastructure supply chains. Voting machines with components manufactured by foreign adversaries introduce significant security risks. These vulnerabilities mean that malicious actors could potentially compromise election infrastructure at any stage of the supply chain, even before the machines are assembled or deployed, because they have their chips in them. If a component is tampered with during manufacturing, it could serve as a point of entry for hackers, allowing the possibility of synchronized attacks across multiple machines and jurisdictions. And they would be so sophisticated that the Fannie Willises out there would never be able to figure it out. The Brad Raffenspergers would never look into it. So unfortunately, the voting system industry, like other sectors of critical infrastructure, is impacted by the fact that some necessary components cannot be sourced from domestic manufacturers. So vendors are in fact dependent on foreign suppliers. 9 voting system vendors are used in the U.S. elections. They are ES&S, Hart, InterCivic, Dominion. They make up more than 80% of the market share. Reps from each of those vendors have acknowledged that their voting machines have parts made in China. Great. So when testifying before members of Congress, reps from those vendors detailed universal reliance on foreign-made parts. You know what we don't need to be made in foreign lands? Paper ballots. And we can train people to count with ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count the votes. Don't need sophisticated chips in order to do that. Pretty sure we have printers here that can do what we need. So they say we have to do it. The then president and CEO of Dominion said that voting systems manufacturers would be challenged to source certain product hardware from anywhere other than China. In some cases, there are simply no alternatives, so we have to use them. So reps from ES&S also said the same thing. In some instances, there is no ability to procure alternative components. Some components are sole sourced and they're patented. So what can I do? Now, acknowledging the U.S. reliance on this that originate from countries that are already committing cyber attacks against America, another company called Hart InterCivic has said, what do you want us to do? Not use the machines. Just use paper ballots would be pretty simple. It's a national security risk. It's not that complicated. Like, it's a national security risk. How many times? So additional guidance and best practices on the supply chain security from Homeland. Mark Wayne says, now there is no question, just said it right there, thank you, that election security is national security. Under the leadership of President Trump, I've directed DHS to prioritize election security, saying electronic voting systems have one job, to accurately count the votes on the ballots. But you can't validate that because they destroy the records. A lot of the voting is done digitally in the first place. Then the stuff that is on paper ballots, it's essentially anonymized and no one's recounting these things. Most of the audits, I think all of the audits, are largely sample sizes of what is in the final bucket. So the Homeland Grant Program, now if you want cash at the state level, you must demonstrate that they have conducted random post-election manual counts of paper ballots to see if there's any big abnormalities there. This is in addition to numerous other actions that we're taking at Homeland to secure election infrastructure. So it is an honor to support President Trump's mission to have the most transparent administration in history. And we look forward to working with the White House and declassification of additional records so that the American people can better understand all of the ways that my department works to protect the homeland, signed by Mark Wayne Mullen. And as we've seen before, there was a Chinese botnet that was just taken out. We just saw President Trump declared a national emergencies on power supply systems, saying that many of those components also come from China and other nefarious actors, and that they could literally turn an off switch on the power grid, and identified other areas where there's financial fraud and mortgage fraud and identity theft and so on. It's happening everywhere except our elections. Whew, that's good, because that would be a big problem. Now, here's more. You don't even need the Chinese necessarily to infect the chips. All you need is Crazy Eyes Griswold, because she's so dumb that they can't secure their systems internally. And Griswold, as we remember, who basically lied about saying that she was somebody who argued at the Supreme Court. She didn't. Running for the Attorney General out there in Colorado. Very important in the imprisonment of Tina Peters, who was also responsible for leaking the BIOS passwords of all of the voting machines onto the internet. Everybody got access to the data. Then just days before the election, she then deployed like a SWAT team of state officials to go out there and then update the passwords and then put those machines back in service. After the change, there was no new logic and accuracy testing at all. So the machines are sealed. Everybody validates them. Her people open them back up to update the root software. Like the BIOS is the foundation of everything. She goes in, changes the passwords, reseals them all. Nobody checks it again, puts them back into service. If that happened in a DUI case, like your DUI would be dismissed. If they perverted the gas chromatography machine, your case is over. You won. Congratulations. It's perverted. There was there's a ton of doubt there. So in elections, though, not a big problem at all. She is perfectly got away with that. No criminal charges, no even real investigation into any of that at all. Just a big, my oopsie daisy on that one. But now she did it again. The Denver Post is posting info for confidential voters was made public in the Colorado Secretary of State website. Her office now confirming it as well. Jena, what's going on over there? This got published late yesterday, and Crazy wants to ascend to higher office now. She can't even run the Secretary of State's office, so now she wants to be the AG. State officials say that only 59 profiles for voters who requested privacy were accessed, and then they fixed the glitch. It's a glitch again. Here's the story. Now, they made information for more. She says only 56 of them were actually accessed, 59, but the availability of all of them was much bigger than that. 130,000 confidential voters' data was publicly accessible for over a week. Oh, Jena! Because of an error in updating the voter registration tool. Now, this is very curious because in Arizona, the FBI, the feds, went and raided a guy's house in Fountain Hills for exploiting a very similar glitch or access problem. But what happens, of course, is you have these locations, these website pages where you can go on to the secretary's website, say, hey, did my ballot get delivered? What's the status of my registration? Where's my polling location? Put your name in there. Hi, Robert Gouveia. Where am I? It gives you information. You're good. You're registered, whatever. And they don't know how to code. They didn't learn to code. So then people can run scripts and they can just kind of keep doing these things. In Arizona, what they did is they realized that when you did a search, it would return basically a number in the URL. And so the guy just said, oh, wait a minute. I'll just start at 0. Like if my voter number's like, 875-251-823 in the URL, I'll just start at 0000001, put that URL in there, see what it pops up, go to 2, pop up, capture it, number 3, pop up, all the way to 1.2 million. And he was just siphoning off data. Now, the Biden FBI, after 2020, went and investigated him, and they said, we don't really care about that. Not a big deal. Even though he gobbled up thousands and thousands of voter records, including some sensitive records like judges and other things. So now she then does the same thing. Big error, 130,000 voters were all publicly accessible for a week, meaning anybody could have just gobbled them all up. And if you have the data, then you can reverse engineer it, right? Then you can say, oh, okay, so we know who these low propensity voters are. We know where these ballots are going to be. We can go harvest them. We can go appear in their names. If you were a nefarious actor, there's a lot that you could do with it. But it was just an error, another error. How many of these exist? Why are there so many? Agency staff, though, confirmed it's not a big deal. Okay, only 59 people. So that's good. And said it was only for people who had requested that their records not be publicly disclosed were accessed between August 14th and late Tuesday afternoon when they discovered the glitch. Now, officials believe that many, but not all, of those searches were likely people accessing their own information. So no harm, no foul. They hopped on there. They got their information, but not all. So they're admitting that somebody was searching for some other people out there. Isn't that curious? Spokesperson called Jack Todd. He said, well, we looked at the IP addresses used and talked to affected voters and the information required to search the database. So we know it's not that big of a deal. There's nothing going on here. Colorado has 133,000 active confidential voters who wanted to be left out of the records. So she put them all online. Yeah, it didn't work out that well. The error happened when the department staff updated the Find My Voter registration tool. And here's what it looks like in case you're in Colorado. You go over here, fill it all out, and apparently it was listing everybody's details, saying that they were trying to actually implement a new system so that you could pre-register. If you're at least 17 years old in 6 months and you'll be 18 at the time of the election, we're going to now make this feasible for you to hop on there. Crazy Eyes Griswold said that, I take this extremely seriously. She said, quote, I sincerely regret that this happened. Yeah. My staff identified this issue and we immediately fixed it. Not really that immediate. It was up there for a week. And we continued outreach to affected voters. Now she wants to be the AG. Maybe if she becomes the AG, she can indict herself. But after finding the error, the office said it reversed the update, identified which people had been searched, reached out to those whose information was compromised. Officials will start using a new system and manual test to ensure that confidential voter information is not made publicly accessible. And this is not the first time that she had a data breach. In 24, office staff posted an online spreadsheet, we remember, and she posted partial passwords to parts of the state's voting systems. And the whole thing was a giant scandal for which she faced no consequences at all. Now, wouldn't it be good in light of all of these problems of posting confidential information on the internet, of having the clear confirmation that foreign actors have breach points in the chain of our elections, from the chipset to the software to the deployment of the machines to the instruction manuals and more? Add to the fact that there are town clerks who are saying officially that, yeah, there's dead people on the voter rolls. We have governors in New Jersey admitting there are thousands and thousands of people on the list who should not be on the list. We've got California that will allow you to register without a driver's license number or an ID card or a social security number. And now we've got Hondurans who are 3'4" getting arrested for registering to vote after they're talking smack and texting garbage against federal agents, saying, I can't wait to come after you, while they commit federal felonies. What do we get from that? We get an Obama judge called Indira Talwani, who says there is nothing happening here at all. And so pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, which is the electoral fraud system deployed by the Democrats. And now the Trump admin will be appealing this thing. and they've already done that. So next stop, First Circuit, and we're looking forward to that. Of course, we're going to keep our eye on this. It is clearly rampant. It is everywhere. They don't want to talk about it because it currently benefits them. In any simple measure to increase the integrity of America's elections gets met with the full force of the leftist communist regime. They deploy the lawfare industrial complex. They activate the activist judges, and they wage war because this serves their power. So we're going to keep our eye on this one and more. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, now we've got some other good updates here on the day, including this one. And this one is enjoyable as well. Letitia James, the biggest TISH on the East Coast, maybe second only to Fani Willis, now being sued by 15 local New York sheriffs for their impeding their ability to actually facilitate any deals with ICE to deport illegal aliens right on out of our nation. And this lawsuit is being led by FAIR, F-A-I-R. And they filed a whopper of a lawsuit, and they're going into a bunch of very interesting constitutional claims saying that Kathy Hochul, the governor, and Letitia James, the AG, are illegally impinging on their rights to contract and to enter into agreements with the feds, saying that the people of New York have voted them into positions to utilize their power to effectuate justice for their people that they no longer can do based on this heavy-handed approach from the state government. So they walk us through some of the argument here, and we do have the lawsuits queued up, but we also have a conversation here happening with one of the sheriffs himself. He's responding to this new effort by Kathy Hochul. They said, can you even prevent any of this? And the arrogance coming out of this woman, she says, I don't really care what the law says. I did it. What are you going to do about it?
Prevent of the ICE at the federal level from securing agreements with local police forces in New York State?
I just banned it. Yeah, it's against the law now in the state of New York to have these agreements. The federal law that allows the creation of these agreements says subject to state and local laws. State law just changed. So no more. No more.
So the sheriffs now are blocked from doing anything with the feds. They say that's not true at all, and they filed a big lawsuit to reverse that. But here was one exchange of one of the sheriffs who went on to Fox News and explained their position. Then we'll get into the actual legal documents in a second.
The war on ICE rages in blue states across the country. Now a New York law banning any local law enforcement from even cooperating with ICE went into effect this week. Here's Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul.
ICE can no longer use locally funded police to carry out the Trump administration's aggressive immigration agenda. Local cops cannot be ordered to aid and abet an out-of-control agency.
15 New York sheriffs are suing her and Attorney General Letitia James over this law. One of them is Rensselaer County Sheriff Kyle Burgo. He says the law is unconstitutional and dangerous. Yesterday, Hochul and James both announced a countersuit accusing him of breaking that law. Hochul claims his county isn't serious about New Yorkers' safety. James, meantime, says the Rensselaer County Sheriff's Office has been given every opportunity to follow the law, yet has chosen not to. My office is suing to enforce New York's laws and ensure that local law enforcement agencies remain focused on their most fundamental responsibility, keeping New Yorkers safe. In focus for us, Sheriff Kyle Burgo, Rensselaer County, New York Sheriff, joins me now. Thank you so much for standing up for your team and for all sheriffs that are in this fight against the governor here in New York. How dangerous is this law?
This law is really dangerous, Julie. It was signed into law in May, and then it just became effective on Tuesday. What the law does is it limits our cooperation with 287G as far as entering into contracts. It also it takes away the ability for a sheriff to house in ICE inmates. And then it also has created the Office of Immigrant Trust. And we find that extremely troubling, that the governor and the attorney general have created an agency within the attorney general's office to investigate sheriffs just to make sure they're in compliance with the law. We're all about accountability, but I think that's going a little bit too far.
A lot of the illegal immigrants that these ICE agents are encountering are criminals, and they are dangerous. And as we've seen, people getting shot, they are armed and dangerous. And so that's what the police are there for. That's what the sheriffs are there for, as backup. So if they don't have backup, I mean, can you imagine what could potentially go down if they go to apprehend someone who has a weapon, who just starts shooting randomly at people on the street and innocent civilians?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we can't cooperate with our federal law enforcement partners. I never thought we'd see the day that this came into effect. It's really troubling in New York State, and that's why we've decided, 15 sheriffs, and I understand it may be more now, to bring this lawsuit forward, because we've had enough with pro-criminal policies, and we're looking to make sure that the sanctity of the sheriff, the office of sheriff, is kept.
Okay, what would you like to see from the Trump administration over this? I mean, because if these ICE raids are still going to continue, they're following the president's orders. So you could argue that the sheriffs are then following the president's orders as well by providing backup to these ICE agents. So what can the president do, or are his hands tied in this?
Well, the DOJ just presented a lawsuit to the federal magistrate in the Northern District of New York. She declined to put a stay on the law for them. But this is different. With the lawsuit that we're filing, we went to court. It was filed on Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday morning, Judge May D'Agostino of the Northern District filed an order to show cause against New York State, which differentiates our lawsuit from the federal lawsuit. And we believe that although we're very pleased at that, there's still a lot of work to do when it comes to this lawsuit.
All right, so they're fighting back, and it's 15 sheriffs who have a responsibility and a sworn duty to actually protect the people they serve. And of course, the New York governor and the New York attorney general are much more interested in protecting illegal aliens over the actual citizens in that state. So FAIR is behind the lawsuit. We'll break down the legal arguments and take a look at what's inside. But they say they're representing 15 New York sheriffs suing these two people and filed an emergency motion seeking a TRO and a preliminary injunction to block this new requirement, saying that the prohibition is no longer valid. The prohibition being from New York, saying they can't do any agreements, no contracts, no deals with ICE, no cooperation, period. Now, the lawsuit says it's about a contract problem and a supremacy problem, saying New York is tearing up valid contracts that have already been signed with the federal government, coercing these independent elected officials into a statewide policy and overriding the Constitution. Several of the sheriffs maintain long-standing agreements. They have federal housing contracts. They've already come out of pocket. Albany, though, said those are all illegal. Those are all canceled, and you can't use them at all. So the case has now been submitted. We see, here's the list of all of the sheriffs, and as I mentioned, there's 15 of them. We've got Rensselaer, St. Louis, Wayne County, Broome, Madison, many others, including Fulton County. Not that Fulton, that's in Fannyland. But 15 of them suing Tishy James, Kathy Hochul, and of course the state of New York. And so this was a 62-page burner. Want to just hit the highlights here so we can see what their arguments are. But essentially in this filing, they go through and they talk about the harms to each one of these sheriffs. So if there's a financial harm, you see it repeated times 15. It hurts us, here's how. It hurts me, here's how. It hurts me, here's how. And so on for each of these harms, which is why it's 62 pages. But we'll get the framework here, and they say, listen, Congress, Kathy and Tish, have already established a comprehensive framework of immigration enforcement. Congress, under the Supremacy Clause, says that there should be and encourages voluntary partnerships between the feds, the states, and local law enforcement. They've got statutes that articulate this, and we've entered into written agreements to do it. Now, New York's county sheriffs are also independently elected. We're constitutional officers. We are not subordinates. We are not agents of Governor and Tish. So under the New York Constitution that guarantees home rule and the separation of powers, and under the sheriff's independent status, We possess the authority to make our own judgments, and we cannot be overridden by Kathy and Tishy. They don't have a supremacy clause that supersedes the sheriffs. Now, exercising their independent judgment, the sheriffs have entered into a variety of these agreements. They include 287G MOAs, Memoranda of Agreements. They authorize ICE and more. And in this, we've identified and already achieved the successful removal of aliens who are threats to the state. And as a result of this, we've got funding. We've got federal funding through partnerships and other endeavors. But now these are all under attack. On May 27th, Kathy Hochul signed into a law a new provision, and it created this entity, which is just wild. They call it the Office of Immigrant Trust, okay, the OIT. It should say Office of Illegal Immigrant Trust. And why do they want to facilitate trust between a foreign invading population and the sheriffs and actual law? I don't know. Well, we do know because this is their main constituency now. But this prohibits law enforcement and sheriffs and even correctional facilities from entering into any contracts with the feds. It also says anything that's already on the books is now null and void and unenforceable. Everything that was done, housing agreements canceled. Anything else is over. So while this establishes this new immigrant trust facility, it's armed the OIT. It's basically creating a new prosecutorial authority. So the OIT then can go and have sweeping investigative powers. They can subpoena, they can inspect, they can have civil enforcement powers. In other words, they can police the police. They can go investigate and essentially prosecute, in a way, the sheriffs if they don't comply. Saying, we're the sheriffs now. You have to do what we say. Now, together, these provisions do more than just express a policy preference. They nullify the ability of elected constitutional officers to do their jobs, and the resulting harm is irreparable. Right now, on August 25th, already passed, the existing agreements are dead. On the same day, a 3-month clock starts, saying we also have to terminate the existing agreements of housing certain federal detainees. Tishy has already issued pre-enforcement letters requiring adherence to this. So if you have anybody in custody, you're going to release them. You have agreements to have housing for them, cancel it. Now, absent immediate relief from this court, we're going to be stripped of our authority to maintain these agreements. We're going to lose operational and financial benefits. We're going to face investigative coercion directed at their core constitutional functions, and we're going to be wrecked. So now we're suing. We want to vindicate our rights under the Constitution, under the Contracts Clause, the 10th Amendment's prohibition on reverse commandeering, and the preemptive effect of the Supremacy Clause handed down by the feds. And likewise, the sheriffs also invoke their rights under the Constitution, including our protections for independent office of sheriff rights, home rule provisions, and the guarantee of separation of powers. All of this is being nullified by TISH and Hochul. And so we want an injunction to stop the order from going into effect so that we can continue to maintain the rights and the powers to do this. And that is a nice summary of what we're seeing. The rest of the actual complaint is fleshed out here. All the sheriffs coming in as plaintiffs. And this is a big number. And think about the difference between this and the League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters is a nonprofit who write educational materials for their dumb women voters who can't figure out how to actually cast a ballot. The harm to them from Trump's executive order is basically nothing. It's de minimis, but federal judges have said that alone is so significant, we're going to step in and block this new effort from going into effect. In this case, an order from the president. Now we'll see if that same type of benefit is given to the local sheriffs. Will the federal judge come out and block a state mandate when the harms to them are dramatically worse in the fact that they're going to be releasing federal detainees and presumptive criminals out of custody back onto the streets? We'll see. So each one of these people is a constitutional officer. The defendants, we know who they are. They give us a lot of details on how immigration works. As we know, federal government is supreme under the Supremacy Clause when they are in conflict with the states. They can only do things that are, mandated by the Constitution or allowed under the Constitution. All other rights reserved to the states. But when there's a conflict between the two, the feds reign supreme. Now, Congress has authorized cooperative agreements for the detention of aliens. Under U.S. code, it's allowed. They may enter into agreements with any state or political subdivision, in this case, the sheriffs, to actually remove these people. And that is because Congress thought this through. And so that's what we've utilized. We've entered into many agreements with local jails and correctional facilities, and Congress has encouraged this type of cooperation. We've had multiple operations, one called Stone Garden, and more. And then at the sheriff's level, we also have power there. We are constitutional. Our state law gives us the right to understand and enact independence from other political entities. We have more rights even than what the federal government gives us. They talk about separation of powers and more. And we're protected under the federal Constitution, saying we have the contracts clause, saying we can do these things, and that the states can't null and void that out. And so we're bringing our claim under the federal Constitution as well. And so if the government at the federal level cannot commandeer states to advance the federal ends, then states cannot commandeer lower subdivisions to do the same thing. It's the same principle in a nice argument. This structural protection carries particular force where local officials are now being conscripted. They're independent officers, and now Hochul is making them not. They're actually subordinating them under her and Tishy's will. So we're not going to stand for it. And we now have our actual cooperation practices, which are being nuked. And I wanted to fast forward to some of the irreparable harm. The program is actually working. The guy that we just listened to, Rensler, has produced measurable results here, saying the facility between 2018 and 2016 has processed a consistent population of foreign-born inmates. And it's not huge numbers, but 46 in 23, 56 in 24, 76 in 25, 55 in the first 8 months of 26. And these are bad hombres. One guy wanted for a crime committed in Ireland. We booked 2 Venezuelan nationals connected to a homicide and more. And so this has been happening across the board. We've had these agreements, they've been working, and now they're all getting ripped out from under us. This is the section where they're saying, yeah, look, every one of these sheriffs in Steuben County, in Otsego County, are doing good things under this program. And so now if you strip this out from under us, we will have serious harms that befall us. And so let's fast forward to the irreparable harm section so we can see what that is, right? They're walking us through some of the law and how it applies under Hochul's power. They issued their statement. They said on August, we're unwinding all of these agreements, but if you don't allow us to continue what we've already been doing, we're going to be cooked. Saying all of these agreements are already in force, and these terminations that are already affected are going to be devastating. Saying the law forecloses these agreements that were already effectuated via democratic processes. And these housing arrangements that are now in effect are going to be under a legal cloud. We're going to have to close them down and release everybody. So we're going to lose millions of dollars that we've already spent and contracted in. We're not going to be able to screen anybody. We can't move these people out of New York and back into the hands of ICE. The Office of Immigrant Trust is now going to come and investigate us if we don't actually comply. And they can just walk in. They can compel testimony. They can sue us. They can come after the sheriffs. So the independent judgment of the sheriffs is now being displaced. And we rely on these funds, by the way. Like, we've entered into these agreements. We've got funds and grants and partnerships to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now all of that is going to be ripped away. So we're suing for numerous counts. One, contract impairment, as we know, under the contracts clause of the federal Constitution. We see the second count is going to be reverse commandeering under the 10th Amendment, saying the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the state. The feds can't commandeer the states. And nothing in the 10th Amendment or in the court's reasoning limits that in a single direction, saying now you can't commandeer us from the state level on down. This is a conscription, which is incompatible with New York law as usurpation of independent powers under sheriff authority. We also have conflict, obstacle, preemption. We've got a conflict now, so the supremacy clause should override Kathy and Letitia. We also have intrusion on a sheriff's office under New York constitutional law. We've got a violation of home rule, saying in the Bill of Rights, under Constitution of New York, every local government has the power to adopt or amend local rules related to local issues. Now they're violating that as well. So it's a big one. We've got violation of separation of powers under the New York Constitution, derivative challenge to the Office of Immigrant Trust, which is created to basically create an entirely new prosecutorial power for Big Tishy. And in sum, they're asking for this: a declaration that Hochul and Tishy's law is illegal. Declare it unconstitutional under the Contracts Clause, under the New York Constitution, and under the U.S. Constitution. Issue a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction to prohibit Tishy and Hochul and all of their employees from doing anything. Do not allow them to come and investigate us, issuing subpoenas and inspections. Issue a permanent injunction, nuking this provision, and award us all other costs and reasonable attorney's fees, signed by the Federation for Immigration Reform over in New York. And so this is going to be one to keep our eye on, because this is curious. Now, many other blue states have similar deals, right? They all have these prohibitions on interfacing with ICE, saying it's illegal, and we're going to create sanctuaries for foreign invaders and protect them more than we protect American citizens because they get due process premium in America. Now, this is being heard in the Northern District of New York. The judge who is handling this right now is May D'Agostino, and she was appointed by Barack Obama back in 2011. So we'll see how it goes. But thus far, she's actually ordered them to respond to this. So they filed a notice of emergency motion for an order to show cause. They got declarations from all the sheriffs. Just wanted to show you what they've submitted, but this is another 49 pages just from one sheriff alone, and basically all 15 of these sheriffs have submitted these declarations saying, this is a giant problem, okay? Like, I'm a professional independent person who's sworn to the law, and this is going to destroy us. It is going to require us to release bad people back onto the streets. And this goes on for another 49 pages with a bunch of exhibits and more. But they also then got the judge to respond. She said, all right, Kathy and Tishy, you guys need to respond to this quickly, saying, I want you to respond to the TRO. I want you to respond on the agreements. Why should you be prevented or not be prevented from essentially reversing your law? So I want by September 9th, so we're gonna have a little bit of time on this, any papers in opposition, then any reply papers from the sheriffs will be due back on September 16th. Then this judge will determine whether a hearing is necessary, and this will continue to be litigated moving forward into the future. So shout out to these sheriffs. And again, this, if successful, I think can act as a template for many other locations. We have blue states that are passing statewide laws that are impacting very red counties, very red locations. New York is not all blue, okay? It's largely New York City, which perverts the entire state. And there are other people who don't want to live like this. We don't have to live like this, where our elected officials protect criminals who are already arrested from being turned over to ICE because they're also illegal aliens. The sheriffs aren't rounding up innocent people. They're coming across non-citizens who have been charged with crimes, picking them up on DUIs or much more serious offenses, holding them to deliver them for actual enforcement by the federal government. Versus their narrative that, oh, they're kicking doors in and arresting, your gardener, which they should if he's an illegal alien anyways. So the point is, if we're successful here, then we should see this spread around like wildfire to all of the other sheriffs and all of the other blue states so that we can enforce federal law and prevent the insurgent Democrat insurrectionists who are in favor of creating a perpetual underclass that they can exploit for votes and cheap labor in favor of the American citizens who are their actual constituents in a real world. But while all this is happening, Homeland is picking up the spice a little bit. You may have heard about these electric shock gloves. And, you know, this might be one way to really disincentivize illegal immigration. Clipped over from Eric Doherty here. And here's the reveal courtesy of Fox News. Things are about to get shocking.
Is designed to be applied directly to the skin to deliver a pain stimulus of up to 380 volts. The Kentucky company that makes it, Compliant Technologies, says it can help an officer gain compliance in seconds. Now, Border Czar Tom Homan told Fox the force is non-lethal and is needed in the field.
You just can't go from 0 to 100, right? And first thing you go for is lethal force. So, you know, we have OC spray. We have tasers. So the glove is, you know, the latest thing they're looking at to help in situations. This would be a tool they can use to make someone compliant.
DHS is proposing spending $10 to $20 million on the gloves with the goal of equipping agents by next March. An agency spokesperson tells Fox ICE is constantly assessing the needs of our officers in the fields to ensure they have the tools and equipment necessary to safely arrest and remove criminal illegal aliens from our country. Now, the ACLU has a different opinion, stating to Fox News, giving immigration agents a concealed means of delivering terrible pain is a recipe for more harm to the public and less accountability. Several Democrats, including New York Attorney General Letitia James, are already warning about potential misuse of the device.
Of course we are outraged, and in the event that a New Yorker is injured as a result of these gloves, obviously there will be a private right of action as well as action from the state of New York. You can best be assured of that.
Anyone using the gloves must be trained on them and recertified every 2 years. John?
All right, we'll see if this actually gets deployed or not. Mike?
Yeah, we'll see. It should be pretty interesting to watch. Now, if a taser is acceptable, this is the same actual mechanic, just a different delivery methodology, right? Rather than being distant from somebody and firing a taser into their bum, you just are touching them and just say, how now it's game over. So we'll see what ultimately happens here, but we have some very ornery non-citizens. And so maybe this will force compliance. Or guess what? Here's another theory. They can leave. They're paying for them to go home. So rather than making it convenient and rolling out the red carpet for them, we have to enforce the law. They don't have to get shocked if they comply with the feds. But we'll see what ultimately happens. Shout out to the sheriffs. Shout out to FAIR for bringing this complaint and for standing by the enforcement of the law against the dictators out there in New York between Hochul, TISH, and Mamdani. And the lawsuit is now underway. So briefing schedules will be coming down the line in the future, and we'll see what the judge ultimately does. But hopefully their complaint is successful, and this can be translated to many other states around the nation until the territorial integrity of America improves. We'll keep our eye on this lawsuit. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, one more update on the day, my friends, and this is about Flock and these cameras. And this is getting pretty wild. Yeah, let's get into it right now. A police officer was arrested and charged for abusing Flock cameras, and not just like 1 or 2 searches that we've seen before, over 2,000 illegal Flock searches, and he was going after, allegedly, his ex, following her around everywhere, some of the time when she got a protective order against him. A court said, don't contact her, don't follow her, don't go to her house or location. He said, fine, don't need to do it. I'll just access the system. And so now he's been charged. We got the details on it. CNN had a photo of this guy. His name is Officer Assad Zahir, and he comes out of Kentucky. And now Congress is looking into this. Governors are looking into it. Various states are canceling it. But this is happening across the board. There are officers all over America who are doing things like this. And Rand Paul called it out today as well, a senator from Kentucky. He said, an officer ran 2,048 Flock camera searches to track the mother of his child. No warrant, no probable cause, no judge ever saw it at all. He explains clearly the Fourth Amendment protects Americans against unreasonable searches, and retracing where someone drove for 5 months is a search. And it's why I take issue with surveillance networks like Flock. Yeah, and maybe his defense will be, I just loved her and I wanted to protect her. But the guy's name is Asad Zahir. We don't have the charging documents yet because in Kentucky, a lot of that is kept under lock and seal. But it was over 2,000 times, and there was an entity called the Courier Journal who got some of the details from inside the complaint, saying new charges now faces 5 counts of misdemeanor official conduct and 5 counts of misdemeanor unlawful access to a computer. In the complaint, saying abusing his access to the Flock system and conducting over 2,048 searches in total. They include 2 separate Kentucky vehicle registrations, and they were looking into a woman. The searches allegedly took place from at least January 1 to May 2nd for months. So during an August 26 news conference, police officials said that Zahir is now suspended from police duties while the investigation continues, saying that officials got alerted to this because they had an auditing tool that was powered by AI. May not have even caught this dude, but an auditing tool was like, this guy's searching this person everywhere. They came out. Here is the police chief called Andre Bottoms at the conference. He said the fact that the audit detected this activity also demonstrated why strong auditing capabilities and documented search records actually matter. Flock was introducing this new system in the spring of this year. It detects, quote, abnormal activity that has been associated with the arrests of several law enforcement officers who also abuse the system. Now, they learned that Zahir has a child with the woman, and while the woman had an emergency protective order against him from April to May, the police found that 241 of the Flock searches had been entered in that same period, which is pretty crazy because you could see that might be another crime, which would be, violating a court order, an additional misdemeanor. And if you do it 241 times, maybe that's an aggravating factor, and maybe those turn into felonies in some way. Don't know Kentucky, but seems pretty problematic. So he harassed the victim in Indiana and made threatening comments to the extent that she was filing and granting a temporary protection order. The investigation discovered that he continuously accessed the system to track her movements in Kentucky and in Indiana. So across state lines, maybe that's a federal charge as well, over a 5-month period. So this guy also stated that he was searching for these things. He fills out the form. He says, I was looking and investigating drugs or narcotics, but the police department said no. I'm not going to speculate on why he said that, but he says, I can definitely say that there is no criminal case of this particular female related to drugs, narcotics, or anything. So it appears that based on the evidence now, that was not a legitimate reason. He was arrested on the 25th, released the same day, posted bond, and under the condition that he have no new arrests or violations, has another arraignment hearing. Apparently he was back in court today. They said from the police, that's okay. We still like Flock, but he says that there should be policies and better training. And so we're beginning a full review of our policy. We're examining users' access and more, and we'll determine what additional steps we'll be taking when it comes to these systems. Now, it's not just this guy. Here are more officers also under investigation. This group in Illinois.
The I-Team filed 130 public records requests with local law enforcement agencies using powerful Flock surveillance cameras and other automated license plate reader systems across Illinois and Indiana. We've now found multiple agencies investigating their own officers for potentially misusing cameras that can track your location in real time.
Ex-spouses, ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends of current girlfriends. One individual was searched approximately 140 times.
Prairie Grove Police Chief Michael Goins telling the I-Team he acted quickly when one of his officers was discovered allegedly stalking ex-partners and others in his orbit with Flock camera searches. William Kopp is now charged in McHenry County with official misconduct.
And eventually we did arrest him.
But Prairie Grove is not alone. In Berkeley, Officer Terrence Mastrino was investigated for performing a flock search on an individual who was his former employer, according to the Berkeley Chief of Police. That person looked up their plate on haveibeenflocked.com. 5 days after an audit of Mastrino's flock searches, he resigned. In Palos Park, Officer Cohen Pia Kaczynski is accused of conducting 11 unauthorized flock searches. Pia Kaczynski's flock privileges were revoked, and the chief of police is reviewing possible discipline, according to the department. In Palos Heights, an internal investigation uncovered a task force officer had shared his flock credentials with a DEA agent, and that agent had been performing immigration violation-related searches. Text messages between the officer and DEA agent were shared, with the agent saying, quote, "I hope you don't get in trouble because of my mistake. P.S. Can you flock a plate for me?" And in Shanahan, an officer is under investigation for alleged unauthorized use of flock technology. That unnamed officer is now on administrative leave. The I-Team previously reported an Itasca officer is now out of the job after a misuse investigation. Another officer in Bloomingdale on administrative leave, with both cases referred to county prosecutors.
Crazy.
We have seen abuse of automated license plate readers for almost as long as they have existed.
Hearing the potential for abuse of this powerful surveillance technology, a growing number of individuals are taking things into their own hands, accused of stealing flock cameras and vandalizing them. These men walking out of court this week after they made their first appearance for allegedly stealing 5 flock cameras and vandalizing others in Lisle. Flock telling the I-Team earlier this month, new automatic auditing and safety measures are now included for all law enforcement clients.
Yeah.
We released our audit assistance tool that automatically flags any suspicious searches to command staff so they can conduct an investigation. If somebody is repetitively searching the same license plate over a period of time, it will automatically flag that.
And now a Republican U.S. Senator has called for an investigation into flock, part of growing bipartisan pushback against the surveillance technology.
Yeah, it's not just in Illinois, and I lost count of
across the country.
How many cases you talked about there.
Yeah, it's many. And after 130 FOIAs, we still have many that are out, so more could be coming.
Yeah, this software must be wild. And I mean wild. I've never seen it actually utilized. I think a video of what it does and how it performs would be pretty wild to see. But I mean, these people are like, violating all of the actual procedures and policies that prevent this type of action. So it must be that good. And when the guy does 2,000 searches for his ex and their kid, I would imagine it just, you can just type the name in, type the license plate in. It probably pops them up in real time. You can see where they are, follow them, follow their path, see what houses they went to, see everything, which is why they're so excited about it. Almost like losing rational thought. Like, you remember when Napster came out and there were free MP3s and everybody was just like downloading everything humanly possible that they could get their hands on. You're like, this is wild. I don't have to pay 99 cents for a song. I can just download a whole album right to my hard drive. People went crazy, downloading everything. I don't want to comment any more on that, but you understand the point. So effective that you really can't help yourself. I just have to check these things. So point is, these are officers. These are people who should not be actually, violating these things, have better judgment and better standards. And so what we have now is reaction. And so Josh Hawley sent a letter over to the actual CEO, this guy called Garrett Langley, saying, I've got some questions for you there, sir. And Garrett was just out with Fox. And here's what he said about this. Looks like a super young guy who's behind this technology. And here is what he says about compromising and safety right here.
I value my privacy. My family values their privacy. My employees value their privacy. But what we're talking about is safety as well. And so I think when people talk about just one of these, privacy or safety, they're prioritizing the wrong thing. And what we have to prioritize as a country is compromise. How do we have our safety and how do we balance privacy? And so when I think about legislation that calls for an outright ban, that's like banning vehicles. That would never have made sense. Instead, what we did is we introduced laws against drunk driving. We introduced laws around seatbelts, laws around airbags. I value my privacy.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So you got to compromise in order to have safety. And pretty sure we don't have an amendment against vehicles. We have a Fourth Amendment that says unreasonable searches, that is in the Bill of Rights, which is what people are so upset about because privacy and sanctity against the government peering into your private affairs is a big problem. So the analogy doesn't hold all that well. But now we're getting a response to him. So Hawley said, Americans do not surrender their privacy rights when they drive to work, drop their kids off at school, or go to church. So I'm investigating flock cameras to determine who has access to hundreds of millions of Americans' data and what they're going to do about it. He sent this letter over to that guy, Langley. He said, "Hi, CEO Langley. As a chairman of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee, I am investigating you, your collection, retention, dissemination of the data generated by your AI surveillance cameras. In a few short years, Flock has assembled an unprecedented national surveillance network. Your company boasts more than 120,000 cameras across 49 states and more than 20 billion, with a B, vehicle scans every month. The overwhelming majority of Americans captured in those records did nothing wrong. Instead of serving discrete local investigations as contemplated by our constitutional processes and safeguards, like the Fourth Amendment, these camera networks harness artificial intelligence to pool what they capture into a national database, which customers can search, some of them 2,000 times. Now, recent examples of abuse and misuse of personal data reveal the woeful lack of safeguards in these systems. In Missouri, the police department terminated its contract this month after an audit revealed that a civilian employee had run flock searches for personal reasons completely unrelated to law enforcement. And sadly, my home state is not an outlier. In Milwaukee, prosecutors also charged a police officer who allegedly searched his girlfriend's license plate 124 times and her former boyfriend's plate 55 times. Wild. So this dude is spiteful. Searches his girlfriend at the time and then the ex to see, are these two still talking? Like, dude. Entering investigation as his justification each time. Worse still, the officer was not caught by the company. He was caught because a private citizen looked up his own plate on a public website. So errors and false positives also add insult to injury. A Florida woman spent 13 days in jail and faced 8 felony counts, including 3 counts of vehicular homicide. Wow. After investigators arrested an owner based on their search of the Flock network for a vehicle. Prosecutors dismissed the charges 7 months later when they discovered the error and arrested a different person. Wow. One California police department also found that a staggering 71% of its alerts were wrong, and the LAPD dropped its Flock contract after an audit showed that officers had stopped 161 vehicles incorrectly flagged as stolen in a space of 2 months. Now, furthermore, once cameras collect driver data, uncertainty abounds in how your company and its customers can sell or use data. Flock's $8.3 billion valuation comes with enormous pressure to find new commercial applications. Now, Americans demand the full accounting of how their driver data is stored or sold. So to be sure, I want law enforcement to have tools to catch offenders and keep the public safe, but Americans do not surrender their privacy rights when they drive to work, drop their kids off at school, or go to church. SCOTUS has recognized that a comprehensive, retrospective record of a person's movements is different in kind from ordinary observation in public. You're assembling these details to really create an invasion of privacy. Much different than just, showing up at a shopping mall and seeing somebody doing something. You're following them in a way that is peering into their life, much like you'd peer into their home or peer into their cell phone or peer into their email account. Congress never authorized the network that you built. Your company's internal policies in practice, the only safeguards for hundreds of millions of Americans are you. So people across the country are now discovering this and demanding answers from their elected officials. And so in light of this abuse of driver info, the American people want to know who has access to their personal data and how. This investigation will seek those answers. To facilitate that, please produce all documents and info specified in the annex no later than September 8th. If you have any questions about this, please contact my office. Sincerely, your friend, Josh Hawley. So he wants everything. What documents do you have? In definitions, Flock means you. The relevant period is from 21 till now. Here's some of the details. And if you decline to answer these, let me know why. I want to know the parameters under which your customers can conduct searches of data. What features are enabled by default? What is the retention period for each category of data that you retain? What is the maximum period of retention that can be applied? I want to know the total number of confirmed instances of misuse of Flock, starting from the beginning, and whether the misuse was identified by you guys, a third party, or by the customer. I want to know what a user must enter to justify a search. We've seen some people just say investigation, or some other people say crack, or drugs, narcotics. Is it validated against anything else? Describe every restriction Flock imposes on the purposes for which its systems may be searched, and whether those restrictions can be circumvented. What's the accuracy level that you think you have? What's the testing that you do to determine what your accuracy level is, so we can validate that number? I want to know every category of data that Flock deployed actually capture. Are these images, videos, audio, wireless signals, biometrics, Wi-Fi? Are they picking up your cell phone, IMEI numbers? What is it? State the date on which Flock began that. Also, does Flock does it link data captured to anything else? Does it identify and sell this stuff off to commercial data brokers or public aggregators? What have you gathered, and has there ever been a data breach? Also, is there multi-factor authentication required of all users, or can people share passwords? Describe in detail whether you have the capability to biometrically track individuals, and explain what other limitations exist or more that are imposed on biometric tracking. Makes me think of a gate analysis like with the J6 alleged pipe bomber Brian Cole. All policies, procedures, please give them to us. Any documents concerning the sitting of cameras or sensors. All documents about approvals from governments, hotels, or other bodies, public notices. No hotels in there. I don't know where that came from. All policies and technical documentation about when Flock devices transmit data. Can these things be suspended? Data retention policies. Who may query Flock's systems? Any policies about justification? All documents about misuse. What is your accuracy level, character level, plate read level, false positive level? Anything about the security of the systems? Can people breach it, compromise it, steal your data? How do you test it? How do you ensure this doesn't get stolen by China? All contracts about data processing or any other service agreements. So like, are you using a third party to process the data? Can they be hacked? All categories, audio, video, facial. Can you do face scans? Biometric identifiers, height, weight, gait, commercial data broker records, and more. And all documents about revenue. Who are the investors who hold 5% or more? Are these foreign investors in you? How much revenue do you get from the government and other related customers? How much are you spending on lobbying, and what do your political contributions look like? All coming courtesy of Josh Hawley. And you can imagine how problematic this could be. I mean, you're already tracked to death on the internet anyways, and they know basically everything about you. You hop on Facebook, they're like, oh, remember that thing you were talking about 5 minutes ago? Here's an ad for it. You're like, I didn't even search for that, but here's an ad. Okay, great. So now it's also in the real world. Like, it's already surveilled to oblivion in the world of atoms, in the world of bits online, but also in the world of atoms in the real world. We're going to see it happening as well. And they're fighting to keep it going. You can see you need to sacrifice a little bit in order to be safe. Just like here, put this foreign substance in your body and you'll be safe. And if you don't, we'll fire you and kick you out of the army because we hate you. So we'll see what happens next. But even Ron DeSantis in Florida says, what the hell is going on with this?
So whether it's online with digital surveillance or whether it's with cameras, at what point are we just going to be free to not have to deal with any of that? And so I think it needs to be overhauled for sure. I know New Hampshire did something that really kept it. It's interesting. They put something in a bill about using them on state, so the sheriffs and the police can use it on state right-of-ways. And I asked Jared, I said, well, is the state involved? State doesn't get any of the information or anything. It's just like they're doing it. So we don't even really know, like the police department or whatever. And when I see like a police officer using this to track like an ex-girlfriend, I'm like, what the hell's going on, with this? So I think this has happened very quickly. I think people are right to be concerned. I wanted an AI Bill of Rights that could have addressed this and other issues. The Senate passed a product, and the House in Florida, they wouldn't even do anything about it. Now think about it. All the stuff online about how there's, I don't want to be in a situation where these tech companies, a handful of tech companies, know everything about you and know where you're going. And I know they collect a lot as it is, but I think it's going to get a lot worse unless we have some protections for the people in Florida. And so it's going to need to be, but the only way it could be dealt with is legislatively. This is not something that, it's something that's being implemented primarily at the local level. And you're going to need the legislature to provide protections for people. So what I would say is if it's something you're concerned about, then I think you should talk to the people running for office, particularly for the legislature, and see. And I know New Hampshire has done something, and so I'm in the process of reviewing that because I think that would probably be a good place to start for us here. But this has happened very quickly. This is in the last few years. I think when I became governor, they had readers, but it was more to toll people going through the service plazas, or the toll plazas, which honestly we had a lot of toll roads when I became governor, and I wish we didn't have that many toll roads because you do a lot. That's why we did the toll relief here in Florida. We did a couple years in a row, 50% reduction. People were getting their bills cut in half. That was a good thing, and I'm glad that we were able to do that. But yeah, I think it's I think people are right to be concerned, and I think you got to have protections for people, but go after criminals, great. Let's all do that. But surveilling just regular Floridians' movements and how that data is used, that's a bird of a different feather.
And you can see how badly it can be exploited, and we do not trust the big tech overlords. They think that they're above the law. They think they can do whatever they want, and in many ways they can, including, as we just saw with Facebook and Meta, causing real serious harm to a lot of people, brainwashing children, turning them into zombies, causing damage to their psyche and their well-being, and then just kind of pay a pittance of cash, $17 billion, which is like tip money to them, and then get away with it. So now you're going to put them in charge of your actual physicality, and they can follow you around everywhere. Seems like it's a problem. And if it's so important, even if they have these systems, why can't they just go get a warrant in order to actually use it? Well, because that would be devastating for their business, and then they wouldn't have the funding and the actual support to deploy hundreds of thousands of cameras across America. And as Ron said, this is just beginning. I am sure that they are gearing up for the next 5 years to double and triple that so that every nook and cranny of the country is surveilled like in England, and so that they can fill their data sets with every living person in the country. And then from there, it's 1984. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. This officer now arrested, and he went a little bit crazy using the tool 2,000 times to go track his ex across state lines, charged with misdemeanors in Kentucky. But the problem is much broader than that. And so now Congress is looking into it, and ultimately we'll see where it goes, and keep our eye on this one. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just getting here, quick recap, and then we'll hear from you. We had an arrest today on election fraud, and the beauty of this segment is that they say it's just the beginning. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says today's arrest is the first of many to come. And this dude was talking smack via text message to federal agents. While you are not the good guy, I can't wait until the midterms. Then we can indict all of you guys one by one. Well, he just got charged with crimes, and he'll hopefully be deported soon. So that was a good segment. We saw that Indira Talwani, the activist judge in Massachusetts, essentially blocked the executive order again on election integrity. Didn't give us a lot of details in the 11-page decision here. Happened very quickly. A lot of it is about the substantive harm that she says is going to happen to the plaintiffs, saying they're going to be confused and certain people might be disenfranchised. A lot of it's still very speculative. And so the DOJ and the red states have already appealed this, and we're going up to the First Circuit, as you see right here. Boom. We've got a notice of appeal from the DOJ, taking it on up. We've got a notice of appeal from the red states, taking it on up, and the battle will continue. Now, while all that is happening, the RNC is saying they're going to get involved with New Jersey. They've already submitted record requests about their illegal alien voters and their problematic registrations. New Jersey not complying. Next step, lawsuit. Hopefully we see that soon. We also then saw Homeland Security saying our systems are invaded with Chinese gear. Chips, software, and other infrastructure concerns are raising eyebrows across Homeland Security. They're interfacing with the White House Transparency Task Force on this, and so more will be revealed on that. And then we got Crazy Eyes Griswold is back. Oh, gosh. This time, she accidentally made accessible 130,000 confidential voter registration files on the internet. Says only 59 people actually had their profiles accessed, but she's a liar, so you can't really trust that. Talked about that, explained how in California you can literally register to vote without an ID number, without a California even identity card, driver's license number, no social security required at all. Anybody can get on board. And we saw Griswold is still being Jena, Crazy Eyes Griswold. Then we saw 15 sheriffs sued Letitia James, the biggest TISH in New York, and said that the sheriffs... Oh, that's my brother's cell phone going off back there. And he's not in here. All right, so you're going to listen to his... Hopefully you can't hear his music in the background, but Joey's phone just went off. But we then talked about Letitia James, and she's being sued by 15 sheriffs in New York. Kathy Hochul says, I can do whatever I want because no one's going to stop me. We actually had the sheriff called Rensselaer who came on the call, or from Rensselaer County. His name is Kyle Borgalt. He explained that they already had contracts. They're now being stripped away from them. They have a right as independent officers in New York to enter into these agreements. And now Hochul is overriding them illegally. They filed a lawsuit. We took a look at some of it, his declaration, 60 pages in total. But the main arguments were they're in alignment with federal law. Supremacy Clause actually overrides Hochul and TISH. And so the Supremacy Clause should invalidate what Hochul and TISH did. And actually the sheriffs have the winning argument. We'll see what happens. The case is now with the Obama judge. Briefing has been ordered. And shock gloves are now being considered by Homeland to hopefully cattle prod the illegal aliens right on out of here. Then we had the flock arrest. A cop got arrested, 2,048 various flock camera searches, all illegal. And now he's been charged with 2 misdemeanors, which is all in Kentucky, even though it sounds like there was a lot more going on there. We also saw many other officers have been charged with crimes for this. This guy from ABC went through a whole list of like a dozen of them. And now Josh Hawley is sending a letter over to the flock CEO saying, we don't compromise our privacy and our natural rights under the Bill of Rights in order to secure safety. In fact, our founders warned us about that. A republic, if you can keep it. Those who would sacrifice liberty in the name of security are going to have neither. Something like that is one of the, I think, Franklin quotes. So good stuff there. And then we heard from Ron DeSantis. Of course, it's been a beautiful day. Happy Friday! We made it through another busy week. We had some really good updates today. Thank you for joining us and for liking the show. If you're on your way out, we appreciate you. Let's also say hello to you and see what you have to say about all of this. I saw some great conversation, some great donations. And this morning, we had a very interesting conversation with a woman who is running to be the next governor out in Michigan. Her name is Donna Brandenburg. She came on. We had about 90 minutes of a deep dive. We talked about election fraud. We talked about lawfare in criminal prosecutions. We talked about, like the green energy scam and how the excuse of building solar farms and wind farms are not really about delivering energy, but they're more about gobbling up land for these entities. Very Interesting conversation. She's running. She's amazing. So if you're in Michigan, check that out. We're going to be releasing that interview very soon, but we got into that this morning. And so if you want to join us as a member, we'll also be back tomorrow morning to see what the Saturday has in store for us, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'd love to see you there. Who's joining us on the day? We got some great comments here. And let's see where to begin. Right here. Oh, yeah, this person's being arrested in this GIF right here. Don't know who that is, but sorry. Maybe that's another illegal voter, hopefully. Hey, Tim Jake, what's up? There are some who call him Tim, bringing in 5 new members. See everybody in the morning. Check out this morning stream. It was good. David Jones, what's up? Welcome. We got Jackie Farrell. What's up? Somebody else. We got Cassius Roberts is here. Matthew Menzel, all brought in courtesy of Tim Jake. There are some who call him Tim. Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you. Thanks for always bringing in so many new members and being so generous. Spuds says Canada geese is definitely poop a lot. Oh, is this a thing? So the Canadian geese are now called Donald's ducks. Well, I mean, that's serves the Canadians right. Maybe don't threaten to take away electricity. You want to play with that? We'll play. Let's play, baby. Good stuff. Hey, Sandy says, North Carolina begins mailing ballots for midterms September 4th. So the TRO by Talwani has to be resolved before then. And it won't, right? Yeah, I don't think it will. What did she say in her order down here? Was it 14 days? I think she said 14 days. So that will put us beyond the 3rd, right? Where was that? Yeah, I saw that. So granted, 14-day. The court grants a 14-day stay of the implementation of the following final rules. So the implementation of the Postal Service rules is blocked. No more preparatory steps, no more implementation, nothing happening for anything occurring before November 4th. And then, by the way, like within those 14 days, this is just a TRO. So she'll come back and issue a more permanent preliminary injunction once they have the hearing and she gets some more briefings. So yeah, she's going to stall it out as quickly as she can, which is why they're appealing this up to the First Circuit. And they're doing that very quickly. So we saw that all came out. Now, my friends, guess who's joining us? It's the one and only Joey G.
What's up, dude?
In the house. Oh, yeah, man.
What's up, my homies?
You're getting some dance going on?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, man? How you doing today?
I'm good.
What's the update for your fans?
I need more swipe faces again.
More face swipes? Nice. You think we should show them your workout?
Yeah, I do.
You think we should show them?
Yeah, that's one of them.
All right, let's show them. You were pumping some iron today, huh?
Yes, I do.
You were looking good, man.
How about it, mama?
Love you, mama. All right, let's show your fans some of your working out here.
Yeah.
And here, I'll put this up on the screen so you guys can see. Joey was getting after it. Here, let me play this video for you. So this is my brother, Joey. See if we can get that. There we go. Yeah, buddy. Look at that, huh? Pushing some weights on the ground. Heck yeah. Looking good. Yeah, buddy. Nice, huh? We did it. And nice. So we got that, and then he was also doing some bench press. Let me pull some audio up on this baby. Oh, that's pretty loud. Here, let me flip this one around. Pumping iron, man. Look at this dude. Here we go. Nice. Come on. There we go.
Nice. Man. Love
it. He did it. So that was a good workout, huh?
Oh, yeah.
How you feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, good.
You're looking good, man. Getting strong.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to all my faces, all my Schwarzeneggers.
Okay, more Schwarzenegger face swaps is what you're saying.
Yes.
Nice.
I do, yeah.
You need more? I think we have like 20 of them.
No, that's 20. I need 21, 22.
21, 22.
Like a different type of Schwarzenegger movie.
All right. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if your fans deliver.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Yeah. What else is new? Any updates? Any movie updates? Any more sequels coming out? Any Terminators? Any what else is out there?
Kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's. All the movies come out like 1 to 10. Oh yeah, it's a horror movie. Don't watch that. It's a dead meat thing.
Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah, it's a tiger course.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Yeah, I'm gonna grab it.
All right.
I'll be right back.
All right. You're grabbing something?
Yeah.
All right. So he's got an update for us. Five Nights at Freddy's or something.
Yeah.
Coming around. What is this one? Oh, you want to show us? Oh, yeah. So this is what Joey works on.
Yeah.
Yeah, come show him. Got it?
It's these right here.
Yeah, come over here.
These ones.
All right. Yeah. So show them. So this is like your work. This is like your logo.
Yeah. This is the California Marble. And hold on a second. Let me flip it. Like New York Films.
Nice.
And after all, it'd be the Terminator.
Man, so good.
Yeah.
You put a lot of work into those.
Yeah, just all that title cards.
Yeah. You want to pull a couple out and show people?
Yeah, sure.
Like, show them your favorite one or two.
All right. Let me put this down.
Here, I got it.
I got it.
Okay.
Just put this up for me.
Okay. Okay. What's this? Okay, this one is what you're talking about?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yes.
We've got The Mask.
Yep.
Couple of these.
Yes.
Nice. What else we got?
The Santa Claus from Tim Allen.
Okay. Final Destination logos.
Yes.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Those are pretty scary movies.
Yeah, I know. This from Jim Carrey. All the different type movies.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Santa Claus. That's good. A little more wholesome.
That's it.
Good, man.
And this one, after all, is the Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to swipe
Nice.
these ones. T3, T7.
Nice.
Machines.
Nice, man.
Yeah. just
So
all the
good.
movies I do.
Yeah, man. You're good at that.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. One more thing.
Okay.
Like, Home Alone, Back to the Futures.
Home Alone. Back to the Future.
Yeah, and the Sonic.
Sonic.
These are all printed out of mine. My printer, he gave me.
We got you a nice color printer, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just
Yeah.
tons of ink for
Oh,
printing logos galore.
Hey, Greg, don't forget, you refill my ink when we get home.
Okay, so that was an order to Greg to refill the ink because he's running low.
That's
Amazing, man. Well, those are great updates. Thank you for sharing that with everybody.
no problem.
You're awesome. They love your work.
Hey, always, I'll be back.
Oh,
That's the feast out, baby.
You'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, man.
Thanks, Bob.
Good job.
Thank you.
Love you, buddy.
I'll be over there.
All right, we'll see you in a minute. It's pizza night tonight, you know?
Yep, we are. And chicken wings.
And chicken wings and cherry cokes.
You got it. Cherry Coke.
Let's do it. All right, so that's my brother Joey. Look at those logos, huh? Pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty good. Pretty talented young man over there. And strong as hell, too, as you could see. Just throwing those weights around like it ain't nothing. So thank you for being so amazing to him. Joe, lots of friends out there. Nice work, Joey. Awesome, brother. They say, cool, see you soon. They say, great job, Joey. Tell Joey after he's done to say after you stand up, says, you're welcome. Because you did a good job.
I love you, my fans, and my mom, and his born son.
And my newborn son,
Yes.
Uncle Joey,
Yep, that's it.
in the house.
In there.
Love you, man.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. So, friends, thank you for that. Of course, we've got Joey here for a little bit longer, and so I'm sure we'll be seeing him back as the star of the show. And so Sandy says, yeah, North Carolina. Yeah, I think this is going to be stalled out way beyond September 4th. They're going to, unless the Court of Appeals does something, like the Court of Appeals could just delay on this and they'll have to bypass the Court of Appeals and go back up to SCOTUS. But I don't know if that's going to happen in time before the 4th. That's just days away. So good stuff. Thank you, Sandy. Off-Label Podcast, right next door. Check them out. Armed man with Melania's schedule arrested on Wednesday. Yesterday, a woman runs the Secret Service barricade yesterday, both at Mar-a-Lago. Stupidity is the real pandemic. I think we saw the other lady. Somebody mentioned that, I think at the conclusion of this morning stream, right? Somebody like rammed Mar-a-Lago and they asked her what she was doing. And she said, I'm here for the car wash. So our instant thought was, oh, that's probably meth or something going on there. Off-Label Pod, thank you. Yeah, hopefully Secret Service has their hands on this one. Sandy, Talwani doesn't even cite the law they violated, but says the law the DOJ cites is insufficient to prove they didn't violate the law. Guilty by accusation is the new standard in Talwani's court because she's the king. She's the president now. And she can even overrule the red states. Like the red states are there. There is no harm to us. There is no reason to block us. We want to do this. No, you can't. I said so. Because if I allow you to do it, then I lose my argument that this is harmful. So it has to be harmful for you, even if you say it is literally not. So she rules against the red states in favor of a nationwide block against a Trump executive order over which she really has no power at all. The whole system is just like, what are we doing here? She's a district judge in Massachusetts, stalling out the presidential executive order. It's not even really, I mean, it's Trump's order, but the rule was passed by the Postal Service using existing regulatory authority. The whole thing is wild. So we'll see what the Supreme Court says. I mean, like, it's got to stop at some point. This has to stop because she's saying she's saving and protecting democracy by overruling the entire nation. She has no power for this, and she knows it. So thank you, Sandy. It's part of the same pattern that we've been seeing for a long time. I don't know what it's going to take for SCOTUS to slap them down, but we should see it. Michelle Parsons, thank you, Michelle, for the nice dono. Rob, JFK Shapiro dispute update. The 2 deaths were in Lancaster City and Amish County. Both were measles associated, meaning they died and measles was found in the autopsy, not died from the measles. It's political propaganda again. Yeah, and I saw a thesis on that Josh Shapiro came out like hard in the paint on that one because he was like mega in favor. I heard this. I don't know if it's true. He was mega in favor of like data centers and maybe even Flock or something. And then all of a sudden realized that he needed a new shiny object to distract people away from his bad prior positions. So then decided we'll just wage war with RFK Jr. And they were duking it out on the vaccines and what's inside the vaccines and more. But yeah, we saw a lot of that during COVID, right? Like, were people dying of COVID or were they dying with COVID? What were all the comorbidities? And then you start to see like pictures of the families and you're like, oh, well, they're about 400 pounds overweight. So no wonder they couldn't breathe because they can't breathe anyways, even when getting off the sofa. So that makes sense. But it was a COVID death. And so then therefore everybody needed to comply. And then if it was a COVID death and not somebody dying of, old age for being 104, then they got that COVID money. They got that COVID cash that would come in and enrich them. So same thing here. And of course, the leftists never want to talk about the fact that they wrecked the trust between the people and the companies who produce the jabs, the people who promote the jabs. They don't want to talk about the illegal aliens who came in from third world lands that bring with them certain, vaccines and illnesses because they're not vaccinated. So then the numbers plummet and they're like, this is your fault, Bobby. Come on, Josh, let's be real. Do you even want to acknowledge the fact that Joe Biden brought in 20 additional million people? Do you think that maybe that contributed to this new resurgence of additional diseases? Yeah, maybe that's the problem, but they don't want to talk about it. So, hey, Air Morse One. What's up, Air Morse One? Great name. Hey, thank you for your reporting and analysis, counselor. Thank you, Air Morse One. Thank you for being a member. Thank you for the fun name and the great donation. We appreciate you being here. It's a privilege to be hanging out with you. Thank you for caring about these issues so that we could spend some time on them. We're grateful. And shout out to your pup in your profile photo. Amazing pup. Cowles, what's up? Sent in hiding. I asked Alexis about this. She says, yeah, that definitely looks like a baby. So that's what we're going with. Thank you, Cowles. We got a gold coin from Lisa Hawks. What's up? Geared Beard in the house with a treat. Thank you for those. We got Joel Grayson with some sunshine. It is a beautiful sunshine, especially when we get some election arrests. Hey, Object Class Keeter. SCOTUS or Congress needs to fix this standing issue. Yeah, and the Supreme Court kind of tightened it up a little bit when they slapped down Talwani on the first time. But they left open. They said as soon as this becomes a thing, then you can sue again. So it's kind of like, thank you, Supreme Court, for the ruling. But like, this is going to happen. Like, as soon as this changes, the League of Women Voters are going to be back and say, oh, now since the rule's final, now all of our confusion and chaos is going to give us irreparable harm that justifies a new TRO. So it was very foreseeable that we would just be back at their door again, like knocking on, hi, we're back here. You said you solved this. Come back later. We're here. It's been 2 minutes. We could have dealt with this at the first instance, but they didn't want to do it. Thank you, Object Class. Hey, what's up? Seattle in orbit sent in a trophy cake. Man, that looks delicious. We appreciate that. Seattleite in orbit. Took me a second on that one. Thank you for that, Seattleite. What's up, Slimmer Stubby? We need red-aligned lawyers to sue New York, claiming the sheriff's department are independent agencies and not subject to the whims of governors. Honestly, that's a great frame on that. That's kind of what they were saying, is that we are independent officers. Like, you can't commandeer our authority that is delegated to us in the Constitution. And we're elected. We have certain responsibilities that we have to fulfill, and now you're overriding them. So you're kind of violating us from both ways. One, you're violating the Supremacy Clause of the United States, which delegates us authority to enter into these agreements. And then you're also usurping our state powers from the state constitution. So you're catching us on both ends. And I hope they win, man, because these sanctuary states are anti-American. They're in direct opposition to federal law and to the benefits and to the care and safety of their own citizenry. It's like disgusting that this has been allowed to happen. It's because large portions of their population are all brainwashed into not being labeled bigots or racist or whatever, which is a hopeless endeavor, because no matter what, unless you're 100% liberal orthodox, you will never be not labeled a racist or a bigot or a transphobe or something. You have to be 100%, because any deviation makes you a fascist or a Nazi or whatever. So why even play the game? You don't have to. Trump won. We don't have to do it. Hey, what's going on? Haunts for Hope. Thank you. Gina Harbin, another little baby in the house. Thank you, Gina. We got Spuds. The sheriff of Fulton County is a former attorney, and the sheriff of Broome County is a former state senator. It's pronounced Rensselaer. Rensselaer. Pretty much guarantee I'm not going to remember that and butcher it for the foreseeable future. But thank you, Spuds, for the correction. We appreciate it. My pronunciation is not all that great here, but that's why we put it on the screen so you can see it. So, hey, Terry, what's up? Terry says, Terry Selexi, what's up? Don't do this because it's illegal. It wouldn't be funny if millions of conservatives in the United States registered in California just to prove a point. It would be illegal to illegally register to vote, but you're right. It also would not be funny. So we're not encouraging anybody to do that. But it is curious that you could if you wanted to. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that curious? You could just go and sign up and get added to the list. And what's California going to do? Prosecute you? No. It's a very interesting idea. Of course, we always advocate for following the law, which is why we're happy that this illegal alien got arrested. But it is a curious observation there, Terry. Thank you for that. Quell, hey, here's an appeal of the U.S. Postal Service TRO. Boom, Quell, ahead of class, man. That's exactly right. Shared the link. That's the docket over on Court Listener. And we'll take a look. We'll see what their actual appellate memo looks like. I'm sure they're going to get that in quickly. which will be fun to read through. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. Biltong is here over at King of Biltong. You know where to go for this one, BiltongUSA.com. It's already great. Now they've got coffee. It's called Tribal Coffee. Single source Papua New Guinea beans, bold flavor, real coffee. Get it all at one-stop shop, BiltongUSA.com. Use code Robert and you'll save 10% off and get it all delivered to your door. Thank you, Biltong. What's up, Off-Label? The gloves have less voltage and amperage than a taser does. All it does is lock up the muscles like a cramp. Tasers are infinitely more painful. I've been shot with a taser. Yeah, what wasn't one of the better decisions that I made in high school. But a friend of ours, his dad was like a lawyer for taser something, you know, anyways, so we went over to his house and he had there was just like taser stuff everywhere. And somebody was like, we should shoot somebody with it. And I was like, okay, you can shoot me. And it was not a good idea. It was painful and it was I will say it was quite shocking. And it was a hell of an experience, though. I'll tell you what, don't want to be shot by one of those things. Off-Label Pod, it was a high school stupid thing I did, but I did it. It's true. But now I know. Don't get shot by a taser. So young high school little Robbies out there, don't do it. Stay away from tasers and stay in school. Data, hey, Data 12, please win 15 sheriffs. Spread the justice. Then I hope 1,500 sheriffs ask their local doctors about removing healthy genitals from children. In my opinion, it's child abuse. I agree with that completely, Data. Completely agree with that. And I actually think that I think that many of these therapists who are also counseling the conversion are also abusing children. You know, no different than like screaming or threatening like a kid in an abusive manner, like castigating them would be traumatic to their psyche. It's almost like solicitation of a minor in a way, like, oh, hi, like I'd like you to come over here and gratify me. You don't actually engage in the thing, but you're soliciting it. I think that many of the therapists who want to change a boy into a girl as a minor are doing it, they would never admit it, but for some other gratification purpose. And I would suspect that some of that is actually sexual in nature. So it's akin to solicitation for a gratification. And I think it's disgusting. So thank you for that, Data. 1,500 sheriffs. I think that if they can establish themselves as a proper party with standing such that they can sue and beat back some of these statewide policies, that would be a very nice development. Thank you for watching on Rumble. Thank you for the nice dono. What a great day. Tim Jake, last week, a grand jury in Claremont County, Ohio, declined to indict a man for destroying flock cameras. I think I saw that story. He's clearly seen on video doing it, but the grand jury wouldn't indict. People have had enough. Yep, little jury nullification going on that one. Nice. Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. And that was in Claremont County, Ohio. So maybe there'll be more of that. But I don't think these officers are going to get off on that one because they were inside the systems abusing the systems. But the people destroying the systems are not actually facing consequences. Same thing's happening in D.C., by the way, like the Subway sandwich tosser guy who hit the federal agent with the Subway. D.C.'s like, we're happy with that. So that's very curious. Yeah, very curious. Hey, thank you for the dono there, Tim. Hey, Miss Kayla, regarding flock, those who would give up essential liberty, man, thank you for the assist on this, Miss Kayla. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Ben Franklin, amazing. There it is right there. Miss Kayla, great comment. Yeah, it's exactly right. That truth is right. It doesn't need to be either or. And liberty, when you have it, will hopefully lead to the safety, but you don't sacrifice one for the other because the people promising the safety are really in many ways after your liberty. That's the threat. Data 12. Hey, I hope Senator Josh asks the CEO of Flock why and who is paying for the Flock cameras in the heavily rich Democratic city of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and Wyoming state capital called Cheyenne. That one I don't know. Yeah, and Wyoming is like as red as it gets. Why would they be allowing all of that to pervade their state? That's curious from Data 12. Thank you for that one. Didn't see that in the letter, but maybe the next time. Hey, what's going on? Jedi Trump in the house. Flores will soon be registered to vote in the Congo. Well, better than California. He can go vote in the Congo. I don't really care about election integrity in Congo, but I do in California. Maybe it's actually a red state if you were to get rid of all the leftist fraud. Could see that happening. Hey, Sandy says, we got a big win over here. Courtesy of President Trump, as breaking news, saying America just entered into an agreement with Venezuela, the biggest oil deal in the world, saying we've got a partnership with private business. We've now secured U.S. control of more than 65 billion barrels. It's a historic transaction, more than doubles American oil reserves, greatly increases the oil supply. From now, long into the future, even substantially lowering gas prices. Also helping Venezuela and providing prosperity to them. It's going to greatly strengthen the growing relationship between our two countries. Thank you for your attention to this groundbreaking matter. Make America great again. Nice. From the president. And I think a lot of this has always been about oil and the oil flows and the money flows and the dollar and more. So thank you, Sandy, for sharing that one. Hey, Dominion After Dawn. Thank you for the raid. Shout out to our Dominion After Dawn friends. Appreciate you being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Thanks for sticking around. First Amendment says, yeah, on this one, after he's done with his reps, stand up and look around and say, I did it. Thank you, First Amendment, for that one. Great comment. Shout out to Joey. Off-label pod, correction, car wash at Mar-a-Lago. Armed man was in Cali at the golf course. I'm willing to bet both were looking to do harm. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the golf course excuse or the car wash excuse might be a good way to talk yourself out of an assassination attempt, but, you know, I don't think they bought it. God bless America. Hey, today, August 28th, Illy Omar is still a criminal and is still a sitting member of Congress. Yeah, that's true. But sounds like she's under actual investigation. So as you saw probably earlier this week, God bless America, Ilhan, there was a FOIA request sent by Just the News over to, I think it was HSI, asking about her relationship with her brother, who she allegedly married. And they said, we can't give you any records because there is perhaps a problem. If we give them to you, it might impede ongoing law enforcement activities. And then Ilhan also responded and said that she sent a letter to Homeland saying that she identified an undercover Homeland Security agent outside one of her town halls, was asking about that. Why are you surveilling me? Why didn't local cops know about this? Why? And also, where else were you investigating me? Yeah, and her son's home got raided. I saw that her son was living with another guy who got raided on a weapons charge. And I don't know if her son also got charged. I didn't see that, but I know he did for sure. The other guy did. The other guy has like a long criminal history, but they were living together, pulled him over, found illegal guns, then whatever the mechanism was there, then went and actually raided the house. Son lives there. Don't know if they found anything else there, but yeah. Yeah, good news. God bless America. It's real. We did a whole segment on that. So she's actually like, there's something going on there for sure. So hopefully soon we'll see what's going on with her. Hey, Dwayne McDonald sent in a gold coin, man. Thank you, Dwayne. You're the man. We appreciate it. God bless America. Thank you for becoming a member. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the members only stream. It'll be a good one. And again, we had a great interview this morning with Donna Brandenburg running for governor in Michigan against Jossie Bency. Michelle Parsons. What's up, Michelle? Thank you for being here for 30 months. That's over 3 babies. Have you heard Flock is adding drones now too? No, I did not hear that, but that seems right. That would be the logical progression. And then you'd imagine they would also go into tech, right? So they'd also, buy up, I don't know, IP companies or VPNs or something to track everybody. Have you heard? No, I did not hear that, but that makes sense. They'll follow you around and then they connect you from when you leave your home, get spotted by a drone, get in your car, hop on the freeway, get captured there. Dominion After Dawn, you have the option to pound, oh my goodness, to eat juicy meat into your mouth from King of Biltong and use a special code at checkout for a discount. Check it out from Dominion After Dawn. You can pound his fur meat into your mouth. Oh my goodness. The OTYT, what's up? Hey, think one moment, please. Imagine a politician being asked a question. Behind them appears a whiteboard with the question asked. Next column, the answered question. Always different. Make it, please. So maybe you could compare and contrast their answers so that you could follow along the changes. So like you ask them a question, what's your position on immigration? And, question, answer. Then in the next column, answer a week from now. Next column, a week from now. Answer a week from now. And then you could see the evolution of their position. Or would it be the real answer? Like a fact check? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty interesting idea there, the OTYT. But some of them don't really change anything. Like there's that video around, I think Maze Moore did it, where they were talking about the Bernie Sanders. He's been saying, oligarchy for like 30 years. We have to fight the oligarchy for 30 years over and over. And they have like a video of him like every year. Oligarchy, or millionaire, billionaire, millionaire, over and over again. And it's like never ending. Man, amazing. All right, so we're going to come back on those. Thank you for those. Quad Cam. Dan says, if a state can't follow HAVA, give back all the money sent since 2002. We should send the repo man. Well, I think that's a good way to actually stop a lot of this. If they want federal dollars, no more sanctuary policies. Like we're not paying for foreigners. Simple as. No money, nothing. Transportation, healthcare, SNAP, food, education, whatever, all cut off. They would flip on a dime, I think. But you can't do that because the courts would stall you out, and then there would actually be actual American citizens hurt there. But how else do you deal with an insurgency inside your own nation other than capital? There are other ways, but we don't really want to go down that road. Hey, Zone Girl, Chinese owned their reserves in the past. This is the new Don Road Doctrine. Nice, from Zone Girl. Yeah, and it's in, our part of the world, which is nice. It's just right there, just a stone's throw away. And you take it out of the axis that was developing on the other side. So good stuff there. And what's going on in the house? Couple of other comments here. Spuds shared this. Thank you, Spuds. That was the lawsuit. Man, that's the full video over there. Thank you, Spuds, for sharing that one. Former state senator, he spells out the whole lawsuit. Nice. Probably did a better job than we did, too. Also, Rick D. Secretary Bessent sent a letter of his own yesterday you may find interesting. That one is on, Pocahontas got that letter. Yeah, Elizabeth Pocahontas. I think I saw his tweet about that. He said she was like even dumber than he thought. We also had this one. The targeting of the Catholics. Man, thank you, Rick D, for that one. I saw that. That was the FBI targeting the Catholics. Yeah. Yeah, they targeted everybody who wasn't a transgender. Hey, Londo. Those who give up liberty, privacy for safety deserve neither. Another follow-up on the Ben Franklin quote. And Jane Lynn says to Flock, I want my $150 ticket back. Of course, I was doing 80 and a 60 sober, but I was listening to Life in the Fast Lane. And so you were just energized by the book and following along with the title. That's pretty funny, Jane Lynn. Yeah, probably not going to get it back. Once that capital goes into the government coffers, it's not coming out. Elliot. So according to the birthright citizenship docket, the judge did not grant an injunction at this moment, but did. I saw this update today, Elliot. Thank you for flagging it. I was going to cover it, but I thought all they're going to do is supplement it. So the birthright citizenship case is back down, right? Trump versus Barbara. Was that Casa? Was that a separate one? I think I saw that one in Barbara too. Maybe it was Casa. But anyways, Trump, birthright citizenship came back down. Supreme Court totally blew it. Trump issued a new birthright order delineating other classes that are clearly not eligible for birthright. They said at the lower original cases, we want to block this. Trump responded saying, your original complaint doesn't cover this. So there's been more lawsuits. And now the judge came back down today, could have blocked it right out, didn't do that, said, but I will give you time to amend some things and then we'll continue the litigation. So birthright battle continues on. Mom of many says, you know, I could save 10% on my auto insurance if my insurer can track my driving habits using an app on a phone. I pay an extra 10% not to do that. Do you know if you can actually use a junk burner phone to install the app and get the discount without actually being tracked? No, I don't, but I would presume that would be there's like probably a terms of service that you agree to that says you're not going to do that. But no, I don't know about that specifically. I mean, it makes sense. Like, just leave your phone at home, get a burner phone and just get an old iPhone or something, put it on there, activate it. Yep, sure. But I don't know if they track it or what. And then just, throw it in a drawer somewhere. But I thought your comment, Mom of Many, was going to be about if Flock can track you and your insurance company will give you a 10% discount. Maybe if Flock tracks you, they should pay you. Or you should get a 10% discount on your taxes or something, like they would get. What's going on? Elliot shared the birthright memo. Thank you for that. It was Barbara versus Trump to clarify the preliminary injunction. Spud says the Northern District of New York tends to be moderate in comparison to Southern. If I'm not mistaken, this might be the same judge who ruled in favor of the nurses who were fired by Hochul for not taking the experimental jab. Hey, Jane Lynn, what's up? Says Joey is a doll. He is. He's a handsome man. Says, Rob, you're so lucky. It's true. I am a blessed man. No doubt about it, Jane Lynn. I have a beautiful family, and I'm so grateful. God bless you for your good heart. I can take no credit for that. It comes from my mother. It's Jake from Oxford. Hey, fine, Rob and Joey. I guess we'll just upgrade to Super Grok Heavy for $300 a month. I mean, Joey's got to get his Arnold face swap images, doesn't he?
Yes, I do.
You hear that? He says, yes, he does. So
Let me see it. Let me see that.
We got one for you coming up.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, it's Jake from Oxford, Hillary's NSA. Yes, whatever it takes. It has to be done. Just dip into Hillary's stolen cash. You've got the funds. Hey, Spuds, Kathy will declare the Constitution a communicable disease. Will she declare following the Constitution a communicable disease? That took me a minute. Well, they hate the Constitution. Yeah, that's why they call it a living, breathing document that can change into whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. Hey, what's going on? Humble Satellite Boy. You know, the Flock thing, aside from the Fourth Amendment issues, don't digital tools like this have a built-in deterrence for misuse? It seems like regular audits would find out if they're being misused, like you're going to get caught too, bro. Like you're going to get caught, bro. So maybe more oversight and more frequent audits would deter idiots from misusing them. Maybe they have to employ the buddy system to use them. Yeah, I mean, or just go get warrants. I mean, the argument, I think, is similar to FISA. Like FISA is abused by federal agents that are under strict scrutiny on these things. Like they're monitored extensively and they still abuse them. So, I mean, FISA, it's like accessing NSA databases and things to track you at a federal level. These are even local, like local cops have almost like a FISA tool. So I think both of them should just go get a warrant. And maybe there's a question even about gobbling up all that data. Like, why is all of it being hoovered up by the government in the name of safety? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But then you just get a couple of bros that are like, hey, I'll look up your ex if you look up my ex. Like, let's go wild. But nice idea. Humble Satellite Boy. Thank you for the comment. It sounds like they do have tools. Like they have this AI system that actually caught somebody. You'd think that they would restrain themselves, but apparently they can't do it. It's just too much. It's too much power for one man. They just can't take it. Good stuff. Hey, Q Thulu, thank you for bringing in 5 new members. What's going on? Tracy, Larry Mulholland, Pretty Eye Squeeze. We got Sweet Pea. We got Braylon Elderbrook and Mama Pillow in the house, all gifted members, courtesy of Q Thulu. Not even a member, but bringing in 5 new members. You're just amazing. Thank you, Q Thulu, for doing it. Amanda Taylor, I will keep calling for Robert for judgeship. Man, thank you for that, Amanda Taylor. 1 month as a member. First month is the hardest. It gets easier from there. And we're glad for that. I mean, if I'm called to serve, I'll come serve. But I just need you to know, during my confirmation hearings, I'm going to say all of this was a joke. No, Senator. No, it was a joke. It's a YouTube show. But we really know. So don't worry about it when that happens. You know what I mean? Just got to get through it. So thank you, Amanda Taylor. We appreciate that. Hopefully they don't quote me on that one. And Jim, hey, Jim Tells You. We're going to send some friends over to Jim Tells You tonight. You're going to have a great stream. It's going to be beautiful. And the OTYT response was no. Do you like ice cream? Answer, we support cows. Got it. Got it. So like you could follow the incongruity of the response to the answer. Yeah. You ask the politician on the whiteboard, do you like ice cream? They start talking about, the moon. We support cows. And, obviously, no, I asked you, do you like mint chocolate chip or not? They don't want to answer because they may offend the people who don't like it, which would be ridiculous if that were you. So the OTYT, thank you for that. Good clarity. And friends, thank you for the great comments and the fun. Let's have our boy, let's do some X comments and we'll have our boy Joey come back over here and take a look. He's on his way. As we speak, hey, Neuro D is over on X. Thank you, Neuro D. And Neuro D is sharing our watchingthewatchers.locals.com community. Come join us tomorrow if you want to join the Saturday members only stream. We'll have some fun. We'll see what the day has in store and we'll be hanging out. And then, of course, we'll be back on Monday for even more. Thank you, Neuro D. B. Torn says the lead sheriff plaintiff is Fred Akshar and he was a state legislator. Nice, man. Shout out. Glad he's suing. Right to Think says, in my opinion, the red states have more standing. Sure, if a state wants to elect a local politician with illegal voters, go ahead, that's your problem. Although there is a case that could be made that the illegal votes, getting Newsom elected, or any other Democrat that ignores the forest for the trees. And so even local fraudulent elections have consequences for other states. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Like if any state is fraudulent, it can pervert the entire nation, which is why it cannot be allowed to have that. One state can tip the scales in favor against the majority, against the actual, like one fraudulent state can wreck the whole system. It's a catastrophic systemic problem, so they can't be allowed to stand. Known associate, couldn't AI be used for these voter registrations and very quickly cross-referencing these things? Yeah, they can. And actually, there was a report that Cash was and the FBI were going to be using these things at the FBI to look at the Fulton County ballots, which was a big deal. So we'll see if they actually deploy that. Darby Shaw, there's someone shorter than me. Rob, you beat me to the booster seat comment. Get a phone book for that guy. He's seated there in court. You're like, anyone, bring him some phone books. Just set those under there. Prop him up a little bit. Poor little fella. Sandy, why is CBS News saying another judge has put a 15-day pause on the Postal Service, stopping them from proceeding with any ballot barcodes? It's because it's real. That's why they're saying it. It's real. She did it today. Indira Talwani did it today. DOJ, the red states appealed them both. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Darby. CR says, Hochul and James, there is no state jurisdiction over aliens. Who has jurisdiction over aliens and immigration? Check it out on Substack, crcitizen.substack.com. Man, amazing. Thank you, CR Citizen. So, friends, thank you for the great comments and for being here and showing my brother some love. Joey is back in the house. And I wanted to share with him the final face swap on the day from Quell, which, where did that one go? I thought I saw it somewhere. Where the heck did that go?
Yeah, I saw you already way down.
Was it? Did you see it already? Did I pass it?
Yeah, you did.
No, that was data. There it is.
Like there, down.
Yeah. So this is Joey Genesis. What do you think of this one?
That's
Here,
cool.
come get in the frame so they can see you.
Yeah, that's cool. I do. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It kind of like this one right here. I want.
Let's see. I don't know if they can see that.
Oh yeah, well, let me do it.
Let's see. Here, let me see if I can do it.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, because it's got to block our face. It's tracking our faces. There we go.
I want to swipe the faces.
Terminator 7, like that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Man, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one for sure.
That's really good.
Pretty good. So thank you, Quell, for doing that. Looks good, man. He looks almost like you just worked out, like you did today.
Yep.
That's basically what you look like after our workout session together.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. Q Thulu just became a supporter, and Nikki P, 38 months as a member. Thank you, Nikki P. That is a long time. We've been through a lot together. We appreciate that. Hello. Have a great weekend. And thank you, Nikki. What a great way to sign off. Great weekend to you, Nikki, and to you, my friends. It's been a beautiful stream and a lovely week. We've covered a lot of ground here. And now we'll pause, restore, reflect, rejuvenate. Before we return, we want to thank our tremendous mods and meme smiths who keep things nice and orderly around here, including Muffin Rando in the house. We got John. We got Donut Mind Me. What's going on to K Bean? We got Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger on the Rumbles. We got Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and Just Rhonda keeping things nice and orderly around here. But now it's pizza time. We're going to go load up on some pepperoni and some wings and some cherry Cokes, baby. We're going to go wild tonight. So hopefully you're doing the same.
I'll be back.
And as always, Joey will be back. So my friends, we'll pause here for the evening. Hopefully your weekend is outstanding. You're doing something fun, rejuvenating, spending time with our families, our friends, the people that we love, pausing, reflecting, and then, of course, returning, because we'll be back on Monday to get back into it. And hopefully we see you right back here, because in order to do all of this appropriately, we do need to see you right back here, so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a great weekend, a beautiful evening. Sleep very, very well. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Be well, and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. We brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we exposed corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care.